സാറിന്റെ മൈക്ക് മ്യൂട്ടാണ്.
Yeah. Raman, we are live now on the Facebook page and YouTube. So I think we can start now, but I am not seeing Jay Verghese.
Sir, let me make a call to him.
Okay. Yeah, so you want to start now?
I will just call Jay sir and we will start.
Okay, okay. So you can mute and you can speak, yeah. We can start, Ramanand. I think Jay is also there, so you can start.
Sir.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, loud and clear. Go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, you're loud and clear. Ramanand, you are muted.
Okay, sir.
Go ahead.
Hello, sir. Okay. Can we start? Can we start?
Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sir, are you moderating? Ramanand, sir, are you moderating?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay.
So, good morning and very welcome to you for the panel discussion on engineers as the problem solvers to the world, conducted by Government College of Engineering, Kannur. So, first of all, we start with the introduction of our college, Government Engineering College. I would like to call J.E.K. Verghese, sir, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering, to introduce our college. Sir, J.E.K. Verghese, sir.
Good morning. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ramanand, sir. Good morning, one and all, and warm welcome to Jayakrishnan Devagaran, sir, We are eagerly waiting to hear from you. So let me introduce myself. I am J.E. K. Varghese, Associate Professor in Department of Mechanical Engineering, working for the last couple of years in Kannur Engineering College. So now I directly enter into my duties. The Government College of Engineering started in the year with the admission in 1986 admission. So I clearly remember because I also joined my BTech during that year. Now, Government College of Engineering is a major educational and technical education institution in the northern Malabar region. And Kannur is actually a historical place in many of the activities. So the government felt a need to start a college in the northern Malabar region. That time it was a need because the students from the northern region had to travel till Thrissur at least to pursue their degrees. So now the college has a history of around 34 years since 1986. The college has courses in BTech in different engineering disciplines and MTech in different engineering disciplines with specializations also. So we have BTech in mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, electronics and communication engineering, and computer science and engineering. Each of these programs has an intake of 70, except the BTech in electronics and communication engineering. We have 90 as the intake in the first year. And we have a provision to lateral entry for the diploma students as well. And we also run many MTech programs in under civil engineering, mechanical engineering, probably namely a few like computer aided structural engineering under civil engineering, advanced manufacturing and mechanical systems design under the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Then we have power electronics and drives under the Department of Electrical Engineering. Then power systems again under the Department of Electrical Engineering. We have a signal processing and embedded system under the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. So associate with all these, the college has a culture of interacting with the different faculties because basically our college has a history of 34, and the culture of the northern Malabar region is that every colleague will be interacting formally as well as informally, and any function in the college is also held under the cooperation and active participation from all the departments together. So we have a staff strength of around 110 who are recruited through the Public Service Commission of Kerala, Government of Kerala. So in that respect, the college is advantageous in the sense that the recruitment is done in timely manner, and at present almost all the staff are filled through the PSC appointment itself. Now, in addition to the staff faculty, we have around 80-85 technical supporting staff who include from BTech level, diploma level, and all highly expertised in their laboratory testing equipments and things like that. And in addition to that, the college is also run by a strong administrative wing of around 60 staff. The college has men and women's hostel. Then different major facilities which have we have as per the KTU syllabus and the University of Kannur syllabus, we had different laboratories, different facilities were also there. So in addition to that, we have some special features, facilities like a center of automation and control is there, center of excellence in systems, energy and environment. It's an interdisciplinary center. which has in a collaboration with the foreign university, University of Delft, and the major research activities in the CESEE, Center of Excellence in Systems, Energy and Environment, are the research on renewable energy development, then environmental aspects like carbon neutrality and things like people are working on that area. Then any engineering system designs. In addition to that, many of the faculties have their own research facilities developed with the help of different government agencies. We have a few very well famous alumni also. Like now, the world is talking about the Byju's app, the educational application, online educational application for school children from 6th to 5th standard to 12th standard, and also for preparing those who are preparing the competitive, highly competitive exams of JEE, advanced, etc. So this is and Baiju Shashidharan is a famous alumni of GCE Kannur, who may be one among the richest persons in Kerala also now. Now we have many faculties working abroad also, products of GCE Kannur. So we have a very well-established laboratories, and library, department libraries are there. The main library is supported with the department library. Then people in Kannur Engineering College, they have a harmony, whether they are the faculty or the students, they have a harmony among themselves, their mutual cooperation. And I think it is the best place to have interdisciplinary activities because of the attitude of the people who are working, whether they are technical, non-technical, or faculty members, etc. So with that, I conclude my introduction regarding the college. So this session, we are very happy to hear from you, Jayakrishnan Divagaran sir, because you are talking something new with the interdisciplinary activities to be, research to be held, and that is actually the need of the day also. So thank you so much, sir. I am winding up. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay sir, for the nice introduction to our college. Next, we have Mr. Jayakrishnan Divagaran sir as a resource person. So Jayakrishnan Divagaran sir has more than 35 years of product development experience, especially in real-time embedded and career-class enterprise ICT software in the defense, telecom, industrial, healthcare, and automotive verticals. He has led many national and international projects for Fortune 500 clients successfully. He had also taught at a couple of universities as an adjunct professor on sabbatical. He holds BTech degree in Electronics and Communication from College of Engineering, Trivandrum, and MS in Software System from BITS Pilani. He has also attended the Master of Business Laws programs from National Law School, Bangalore, and other continuing education programs from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, and MIT Sloan. He is currently the VP Engineering at a high-tech startup, VNJ Systems LLP, based in Bangalore. Before co-founding VNJ Systems, he was with Philips Innovation Campus, Bengaluru, leading the global product sustenance team for one of their flagship radiology informatics solutions. He is currently a senior member of IEEE and currently an active member of the Project Support and Oversight Ad hoc Committee of HAC. His current areas of interest include innovative product development, human-centered design, cyber physical systems, 5G or edge computing, data analytics, machine learning, and deep learning activities. I welcome you, sir, for this presentation.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Next, I would like to welcome all the participants from GC Kannur and all other IEEE and other members watching this program all over the world. I welcome all of them to this program. And we will have also panelists from our college for this program. I welcome Jayakrishnan sir. He's a professor at Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering. J.K. Varghese sir, Associate Professor, Mechanical Engineering. Assistant Jambil, Assistant Professor, Computer Science and Engineering. Sri Sajay Kumar, Assistant Professor, Civil Engineering. I welcome all of you to this program, and I am handing over the session to J. Krishnan Divagaran sir. Sir, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Ramanand and Jai. Thanks for that introduction. I think very interesting, topic that we are going to talk. So as we would like to highlight you, the next 45 minutes to 55 minutes, I'm going to talk about the subject, which will be followed by a 15 minutes Q&A. And then we will have a 30 minutes panel discussion, which I will be moderating, where the faculty of GCEK from various branches is going to be participating in this panel discussion. So we are going to discuss some of the current topics which are being discussed across the country and the world, because as you know, this year National Education Policy 2020 was unveiled. So it has brought in a lot of new concepts, which is going to change the scene of higher education in the next couple of decades. So this talk is very relevant in the sense that apart from academic credentials, students should evolve as problem solvers to the world. So it is going to be interdisciplinary type of studies which are going to happen going forward, because so far all the discussion was mainly on what you call you passing an ENC, or you passing a mechanical and getting a degree. But more and more the industry wants people who have got exposure to different fields. Maybe a primary specialization, that he should be aware of other branches of engineering. So what I'm going to talk today is basically maximum impact is going to be there on the fresh graduates who are entering into the engineering discipline, because as part of the first year, you are going to study on multiple branches of engineering. So I am just going to stress why it is important to study these areas, and apart from scoring marks in your first year, what is the real need? There is a real need for you to make your fundamentals strong in all these disciplines, because as soon as you get into the industry, it is not just if ENC student, it is not that he should only know ENC. He should know a little bit of mechanical engineering. He should know a little bit of electrical, little bit of computer science, little bit of civil if he works in certain field scenarios. So I am going to talk with respect to why you should take the various disciplines that you're studying in the first year seriously, and build strong foundations, which is going to what you call help you going forward. So a couple of housekeeping things. We have chosen a platform called StreamYard, and from this platform, it's like a studio, what you normally see in a TV studio. We have panelists who are your faculty and me on this studio, and then we will be switching the various what you call participants as we proceed, and we will also be switching some of the banners and things like that. But then we are going live on two media streams, social media streams. One is a YouTube channel of mine, because we are not able to organize the YouTube channel of GCK quickly. For the moment we are streaming there, and the recorded version we will upload in GCK official channel as soon as it is available. And similarly, this is streamed on a Facebook page of a social innovation venture called Mahatma Gandhi Tinkering Labs. I just co-founded last year on 2nd October in Kerala, which we are trying to scale going forward. So this program is also what streamed on a Facebook page called Mahatma Gandhi Tinkering Lab. The links were circulated by the coordinator yesterday. So you can like that page, and you can get into that stream, and you can watch there. So two social media streams we are streaming. We wanted to stream one more place in the Facebook page of GCK, where we had some technical difficulty. So we are not doing the streaming on that platform at this point. But going forward, I think this sort of StreamYard, we can use it for streaming across your LinkedIn page, your Facebook page, then your YouTube official channel. So you will see a very interesting platform today, which even students and student organizers like IEEE and other various groups in your college can use. Without much ado, I'm just going to my presentation. So in case because I had some interruption in between while the introduction was happening, so I thought it is a problem from the other end. But suddenly, I got a message here saying, my connection, there was a problem. But I checked the connection now, the speeds are okay, but we don't know what will happen. So in case, I drop off, which I should not, or, if I am not audible, I would request, Ramanand to unmute and, just tell me, so that, I can stop or, I can this thing. So Ramanand, you are going to be the moderator going for throughout the session. So anytime, you want to interrupt me, you are welcome. And then anytime my audio is not proper or something is this thing, you can always do that. And then you can also in case I drop off and I am not on the screen, you can call my mobile number, and then you can alert me. So these are the precautions I'm just wanting to this thing. So again, good morning and good afternoon and even good evening, because there are some of my colleagues joining from some other parts of the world, because I am talking to you not just on my personal capacity. This year I am part of IEEE Global Committee on Humanitarian Activities, and I specifically lead a community of practice on medical devices globally. So I review projects across the world from South America, Africa, Asia, and then look at these projects from engineering and point of view. And since I was part of Philips Innovation Campus for a couple of years in the healthcare domain, I just bring some value to this community practice by telling the teams to adopt some best practices, and then interacting with them, learning from them, and then how do they identify community problems, how do they go about implementing that. So every day is a new learning for me, interacting with a member of these different projects of IEEE Hack. In fact, IEEE Hack has funded around 70 projects in April across the world, where many projects are running in Kerala also. So this year our theme was basically on COVID response. So there is an innovation in the field of medical devices, infection control devices, or any indirect things like PPEs and other things. And then how do we address the food security, which is an issue in these challenging times. How do we address water, sanitation issues in these challenging times, and how do you address some energy issues during this. So anything to do with COVID, there are around 70 projects we awarded in April, and then subsequently also they have added some more projects. So at this point, IEEE Hack this year has funded 99 projects across the world, out of which Kerala plays a major role, because I'm seeing many projects are happening in different parts of Kerala. Kerala is a very important spot, because that's where the IEEE humanitarian activities has started sometime in 2010 from Trivandrum, Kerala section. Mr. Amarraj Raja, he is can be regarded as the pioneer in humanitarian technologies as far as IEEE is concerned. And just a quick introduction on IEEE. IEEE is a global professional organization of around 4,25,000 members, spread across so many countries. This thing. And then earlier, IEEE was focusing mainly on electronics, and the electrical. But now, its areas are, vast. It is getting into a lot of interdisciplinary fields. Computer science is part of that, and even mechanical engineering, as civil engineers. Everybody, is part of the global IEEE, fraternity, and especially on humanitarian technology. As I told, all our projects are interdisciplinary in nature. So that means the project teams are drawn from different fields. For example, when I talk about a community project in Bolivia, there are telecommunication towers getting erected by the foundations are done by civil engineers, mechanical engineers contribute to the tower designs, and then electronics engineers look at setting up communication systems, and electrical engineers take care of solar power for some of these remote towers and radio equipment. And then computer science bring their value in the form of software systems, both mobile applications, then cloud applications and things like that. So you can see a lot of IEEE projects like this happening across the world, where people from different fields contribute, and then they make the solutions possible. So I may be highlighting some of the things as I proceed in the slide. So let me try to do some screen sharing. and then get the slides there. So let me do one thing. My slide is up there here. Okay, that's fine. First, I will share my screen. Okay, screen sharing based on it. Okay. Okay, I'm going to share the screen. So Ramanand, should confirm that my presentation is visible. Okay. So I have selected this and I'm sharing this, and then I am going to bring my slide here. So Ramanand, are you able to see the slide?
It is visible.
Slide is fully visible now?
Yes, sir. It is visible.
Okay. Yeah. Anytime you are not able to see the slides moving, then you should tell. Okay. And request all panelists to go to the mute mode. Otherwise, you will get into echoes. Okay. So when you want to interrupt me, you can unmute and you can talk to me. Okay. Yeah. So we are going to start now. I think we were a little late. We are already 9:30. So I may reduce my talk a little bit. Maybe this screen you would have seen. It is there in all your social media feeds. So we are going to talk about some of these things. Okay. So let us start. So as I told, this talk is mainly intended for the fresh graduates who are entering the 4-year program on a BTech program. Some of my expert, the experienced or advanced students, like second year, third year, fourth year, some of the slides may look little simple for you, but then all of you, can learn a thing or two, from this session. I can guarantee you, because I had been interacting with academic institutions. As the introducer told, I have almost 35 years of industry experience, but 4 years I taught in 2 colleges in Kerala. One is the CET between 1985 and 86, and then subsequently between 2013 and 2012 and 14 at Government College of Engineering as a adjunct professor in the EC department. So I love to talk with students. I also go around other campuses. I have gone through all the government engineering colleges in Kerala. I did the workshops for them, and I also interact with a lot of other institutions in Bangalore. So students are my passion. Okay. So whatever you are going to listen in the next 60 minutes is going to be the result of all these interactions over the last 35 years. As soon as I complete my session, or while I am going through my session, you can keep typing questions in your social media platform. If it's a Facebook, you can start adding comments there, or if it's a YouTube, you can start adding comments there. Automatically, our moderator Ramanand will be able to see on the on our chat window here in the studio. So go ahead and keep typing and things like that. And another caution I want to tell all of you is, since this is recorded, and since social media posts are all subject to Indian IT Act 2000, you be very careful when you put comments there, because your identity and along with the comments are going to be recorded. And then if you try to do something which is not within the what do you call an etiquette of this sort of events, then you could be pulled. Because nowadays there is a lot of screening happening on social media, and your identity tag gets embedded whenever you put a comment which is against what you call these etiquettes of this sort of events. So be careful what you want to put, because this link had been distributed widely. So if there are anybody who is trying to put any what do you call comments of the type that I explained, it will be recorded, and it will call for some actions as per the Indian IT Act. Just wanted to give you a caution. So let me take you through who is an engineer. Okay. If I would have been in a class or a auditorium, and if I would have asked, so a couple of people would have lifted their hand, and then it could have been interactive. But unfortunately, because of COVID, all of us are getting into this mode of one-way conversation, and then we try to change it in two-way with whatever possible. So an engineer is someone who observes and wonders. Okay. Engineer asks questions. Okay. You can ask any question. It could be even silly questions. Sometimes the silly questions are the ones which are brought in large inventions and discoveries. Then he shares their curiosity. Okay. So engineers. So for example, when I was teaching in GC Kannur, I had a student in the 2015 EC, his name is Jishnu Nambishan. He was a ham operator. At the same time, he was very curious, on electronics. And today, he is a space, what do you call, he is with CV Raman Research Institute, Bangalore, doing a lot of research on, astrophysics and things like that. So I have personally seen in GCEK how, some students, their curiosity, reflects, and then they get into, areas like, amateur radio, then robotic making, and then, various things, and then they also finally, find, homes in, reputed institutions like, Raman Institute. So curiosity, is a very important area. Then explores the world around them. That's what, that ham operator, student was doing. He was connecting with, all the operators across the world, over his ham radio, and they used to discuss about, design aspects of, amateur radio transmitters, receivers, and, things like that. So today, you have internet, you have, amateur radio, and, various forums, by which you can connect with the experts around the world. And then engineer now uses tools to solve problems. So that's very interesting. So just like a carpenter, if you give a log of wood to a carpenter, with all the chisels and, hammers in his, bag, after a couple of hours, you can see, a sculpture emanating from that. So a plain piece of wood, gets chiseled, and, he uses different types of tools. If you closely observe a carpenter, you can see, he will use one chisel, basically for the first level of operation on the wood. Then as he proceeds getting into the details, then he will start using small, chisels and small hammers. So you need to know, which chisel you should use, when. Okay, so like that, in engineer also, you can see you may have different tools available with you, but then you should know which tool to use when, basically for problem solving. So I always used to equate an engineer with a carpenter, because that's a very simple thing. A carpenter, from a log of wood, he turns, it into a beautiful, sculpture, which you see in temples, churches, and other places, all using, the various tools, and then his skill. Okay, then he constructs, invents, and he discovers and creates new things. That's very interesting. This new is very important, because already, around us there are a lot of, products, solutions, and things like that. An engineer always try to see what is the shortcoming, in those products and solutions, and he tries to bring, a new value into that, so that it becomes more usable to the people around that. So these are all the things, typical of, of an engineer. Engineer should, be able to ask good questions. He should be curious about various things. Maybe plain questions like, why the sun is rising in the morning every day. Okay, because when I started interacting with, some of the first standard, second standard, third standard, fourth standard students, after I established this Mahatma Gandhi Integrated Lab, I started getting, original questions. Because when I taught in CET, for this GCK for 2 years, I didn't see, very interesting questions, like, what I heard from this primary school. There, students used to ask me, why, night is happening. Okay, why the road is, black? Why, this is this. So their questions, many times, trigger a lot of ideas to us. But what happens is, as students grow, in their academic, from primary to secondary, secondary to higher secondary, then to what you call engineering, and then finally to the job. So what the trend, what is happening is, people lose, creativity, and then, people lose, curiosity. So the first standard student who asked me, why the sun is rising in the morning, he will not be, as curious as he was, in his first standard, when he gets into the engineering. So we should ask the question, why this is happening? Because normally we think when something grows, like, a person grows, he should be becoming more and more intelligent, and he should be asking more and more, intelligent questions. But I have seen the reverse trend. I have seen, first standard students, asking more intelligent questions, than, the engineering students. So we all should, reflect back, why this has happened. That is because, because of our environment, because of, people, commenting on us, people judging on us. We normally, start becoming shy, and by the time, we get into engineering and all, most of our creativity would have gone. Okay, so this is something, which you should all this thing. But then the qualities, what I explained, these are some things, all of you should reflect. Then on the right side, you're seeing different disciplines of engineering. Okay, you can see mechanical engineering, civil engineering, electrical and electronics engineering, and then software, computer science and information science and things like that. So you can see a lot of intersections, between these branches. So you can see mechanical and electrical and electronic, you can see some intersection there, because mechanical engineers use, a lot of CAD tools for, building 3D models and things like that. So they are all developed in, what you call, computer science field, but that intersection you don't see here. But then mechanical engineers, electrical engineers work together, in many projects, because whenever you make a circuit, a printed circuit board assembly and things like that, finally you need a mechanical box to put that particular thing in. So that's why, typically, electronics engineers, electrical engineers work closely, with mechanical engineers. But then between mechanical and civil, you can see intersections there. The typical example which I was talking about, is that towers, which are telecommunication towers, which are erected. So there has to be solid foundations, which is civil engineer's job, and there will be large, mechanical structures. That's mechanical engineering. So they together, make all these things possible. Then electrical electronics, you can see a lot of, overlap with, computer science people, because all the electronic circuitries and microprocessors, unless the software is written for that, it will not, function. Similarly, electrical, all the electrical systems, starting from generation, distribution, transmission, then distribution, everything is now changing into software. Okay, because everything software-defined radios, software-defined networking, everything is becoming software. So you can see, large overlaps, between electrical electronics and, computer science software. This thing. In fact, I feel, there is more overlaps even with, mechanical engineering and things like that. Okay, so you can see various, industry verticals here which are there. For example, aeronautical and aerospace engineering, it has got, both mechanical and, electrical components. You can see that automotive industry, because automotive industry is now getting completely transformed, because in the next couple of years, I think all our old what do you call, engine, IC engine, internal combustion engine, based machines are going to disappear, and it's all going to be electric vehicles, where the except for all these mechanical tires and, the chassis and all those things, everything, even the powering is going to happen by, electrical motors. VLDC motors now are going to be the thing, and then there will be a battery management system. It is full of electronics. Okay, so battery management system, batteries, and, then this whatever BLDC motor, which is going to convert the electric current into mechanical, what do you call, motion, and then that's how, EVs are going to come. So automotive sector also is undergoing major transformation, because typically earlier, automotive industry was full of mechanical engineers. I had been interacting with, a company in Delhi, for the last 2 years, and they are all people from MIT and, leading institutions. But they are all getting lost, because now everything is moving into electronics and, software. So we were consulting for them, and we were trying to set up a team for them now with both the electrical, electronics, and, software. This thing. But then the original what you call, company, heads, they are not able to appreciate, software and electrical and electronics, which we are trying to, keep telling them, because if they don't understand the electrical and electronics and software, they will miss the bus, because the whole world is not transforming. For example, in the automotive sector, you would have heard a company called Tesla in US. Okay, so there was Fords, and, there were large automotive sectors in Detroit in US. They are all mechanical engineers. But in the last 10 years, the technology has all changed to hardware, software, and the companies like Tesla, they have started from, this footing, and they are advancing very fast. And today, the most popular and, most sophisticated cars in the US, they're all from this company called Tesla, whose what do you call, founder, he is now making all these, powerful cars, and then he started launching, satellites for, NASA, and, because of, his knowledge on, electronics and, systems. Then you can see railway engineering. So you can see, and in civil, you can see structural engineering, pavement engineering, then stormwater engineering, water and sanitation. So all those things are civil area, but then more and more of these, civil areas are also getting embedded with, Internet of Things, sensors now, because that's where, there is an overlap, on some of those, fields, with respect to electronics, and even mechanical engineering. Many of the mechanical products are getting embedded with, IoT sensors, and then there is software written for that. So whatever this diagram, in my view, it is around 15 years old. In today's world, I think all these fields, you can see complete intersection across, these four, or five areas. But in this, there are missing pieces are one is biotechnology, which is typically very important in the field of healthcare and things like that. That is not in this college, so I not included biotechnology here. And then yeah, there are other specializations, but these are the main engineering areas. But then biotechnology we need to include because it talks about a lot of things in this life sciences and medicine and health tech. So with this, no, so this is what I wanted to highlight. So Ramanand, I wanted to check. So I am audible and my screens are visible now, right?
Yes, sir. Your audible and screen is visible.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll go to the next one. The students, who are entering, their what you call, academia, specializing in engineering at this point. All of you, studied a lot of things, specialized, no, generic subjects like, you have studied physics, mathematics, and chemistry. That's the foundation, for entering into an engineering stream. But apart from that, now while you were in the college and in the school, you have studied a lot of things on history. You have studied about, geography, and then you have studied about languages like English, then other local language like Malayalam or some third language and things like that. So all these things are very important, going forward because there are two areas. One is called humanities. So when I talk about humanities, history, geography, language, and then psychology, all those areas come under the humanities area. And when I talk about science and technology, we have got the physics, chemistry, maths, that domain, and technology is nothing but the engineering disciplines that we discussed. So for a what do you call for any community problem solving, we should have a mix of people from these disciplines. We need to have both humanities faculties also should be there, and you should also have science and technology faculty should be there. But if you look at the various projects which are happening in our country, there are silos. When I say silos, means there are islands. There are not much collaboration happening, between these faculties. Because even in colleges, in as part of our engineering, I think as I remember, I studied one topic called humanities, and it was taught in CET by a famous professor called RVG Menon sir. And recently also I invited him for a function in another arts and science college. So he taught us humanities, and when we studied humanities, we thought it may be we should study for getting some marks, but never we realized that humanities subjects that RVG Menons are taught, that is the basis of future problem solving. So I never appreciated much whatever he taught in the class. He was talking, and RVG Menon sir is not just an academician. In fact, he was the head of a lot of institutions in Kerala with respect to renewable energy. He was the director for another. He was a director for some other company. So I think recently, a month back when I heard him in the talk which I organized, he was talking about how do you set up a solar plant in front of in on the top of your house. So the humanities perspectives are very important for community problem solving. I will explain why as we proceed. Okay, so now let me tell. That means what I'm essentially saying is, for an engineer to be a good engineer, he should appreciate both humanities side, and at the same time he should appreciate the science and technology side. So whenever you study any topic on these areas, give all the attention and ensure that you understand the foundations, because that is really needed for problem solving going forward. Just think like you as a carpenter, and if you look at the bag of the carpenter, there are different tools he has got. He has got chisels, he has got different sizes of chisels, hammers, then some other planing tools. So as part of your next 4 years, you are basically trying to gather all these tools. Okay, and then once you get into the industry, then you should be able to apply these tools, and you should be able to chisel out the sculptures. What I'm talking about. Every engineering product, you can equate it to a sculpture. Okay, and if you give this work to a person who doesn't have the tool, the sculpture will look lousy. But if you give that log of wood to a person who has got all the tools and the skills, because just tools alone is not sufficient. You should know how to use the tools. That is what every stroke of the hammer by that carpenter, he has acquired the skill, and skills you cannot acquire overnight. You need experience. So in today's world, you can get this experience fast, because when I studied, there was no potential for YouTube. Today, if you want to understand any concept, you put a search on the YouTube or Google, you can see a video of somebody performing that particular action, and then you can imitate him, and then after a couple of experiments or a couple of tries, you will also become an expert. So this sort of visibility to the world of various skills was not available during our time, but then you have internet, and internet is the way to go going forward. So let us understand. I think you can see here two parts of the brain. Okay, this is a logical partitioning, because people say right part of the brain is for creativity, and the left part is for basically analytical skills. So people will say normally engineers are all left brain guys who can do analyze things, and you can do various things. And then humanities people say they are all right headed people, because they have a lot of creativity. They paint, they dance, they do all sort of things. But then you need to have a mix of these things now if you want to become a real engineer. So typically, an engineer will need, if you see this picture, he should have good analytical skills. Okay, that means when a problem is told to him, instead of next second coming out with a solution, he should write down the problem. Okay, and then he should what you call it, understand the various angles, and he has to find out the solution. I will give you a typical example to you, because I ask this question in all my interviews, and I have seen 50% of people will completely make a mistake there. Around 25% people they will come out with a solution after a lot of hints and things like that. And then another 10 people they will come out with a solution quickly, but then if I ask them to generalize using a formula, they find out difficult to make a formula. And I have seen in my all my interviewing of around 3,000 4,000 students over the last 30 years, I have seen only 5% of the students used to solve this problem, bringing out a generalized formula. So the problem I'm just putting to you at this point is there is a round clock. Just like if you go to the University of Kerala, building, in that Palayam, you can see, a clock tower, and there is a round clock. So there is a minute hand there, there is a hour hand there, and so you just imagine the clock. Now my next question is, the time in the clock is 3:15. That means 3 hour, 15 minutes past 3. So that's the time it is showing. Whether it's early morning or whether it's the afternoon, it doesn't matter. But the clock is showing, because clocks are all 12-hour clocks, and the clock is showing 3:15. So my question to you as an engineer is, what is the angle between the hour hand and the minute hand? So my question is, what is the angle between hour hand and minute hand when this clock is showing 15 minutes past 3? So this is the question that I asked all the students over the last 40 years. And I told already in the distribution of how people respond. So I don't want an answer. If it would have been a face-to-face session, I would have elicited some answer. But then you can think about this. But you should think, you may be able to come out with some answers, but then keep going, and finally keep recording. How was your thinking process? And where did you go wrong? Where did you become right? And what was the final solution you got? So you yourself record it. And then this is a very, very interesting problem, which was able to bring out the problem solving capability of many of the engineers I selected. Okay, the people who are not able to do this properly, I have seen them failing miserably, in all the engineering tasks I have given to them. But the people who were able to solve this at the same time, come out with a generic, formula and solution, they were able to, what do you call? So I used to look at the face of the person. I look at the way in which they keep the pen, the way in which they are writing notes, from my problem. All these things are a lot of inputs for me, and I take a lot of distance based on all these things. Okay, so as a psychologist, now I keep observing people how they perform, what they are asked to perform. So that is a point which I just highlighting at this time, and you can do that. And the next is called STEM skill. This word STEM is not much used in our country, but then in US and all, it's a popular term. So STEM means science, technology, engineering, and maths. So it's an acronym for that. So all of you have studied science, all of you have studied mathematics, then technology and engineering. That's what you're going to study in the next 4 years. So building strong STEM cells skills is very important for an engineer. Then next is computation capacity. Okay, one is using your brain for making some quick computations, and second is your familiarity with respect to computer aided design tools, CAD tools. Okay, because in today's mechanical and civil and architecture and all those areas nobody is going to do the drafting with a mini drafter like our days. Everybody is using computers now, and there are powerful softwares like SolidWorks for mechanical, and then CATIA, and then for architecture, there are even Google Sketches, and there are Maya and various other softwares. And even civil engineers, they may have structural engineering software. So there are specialized softwares available, which are all written by computer science geeks, and you should be able to use these things for making designs quickly. So computation capacity, one is some numericals, you should be able to do quickly in your mind. You cannot go to a calculator or in a computer every time you want to add 4 plus 5. So some of those numerics you should be able to do by heart, and then some of the other advanced things you should use these tools. So the thing, and the next is creativity. As I told, gone are the days when people say, "I am analytical, I am an engineer." That's a lousy argument. Unless you are creative, you will not be able to solve any of the world's problems. So creativity, that means whatever skills that you learn in the school, you used to paint well, you used to sketch well, you used to dance well, you used to do a lot of interesting activities, those in the school, primary school level. But once it comes to engineering, whenever I conduct workshops, when I ask students to do something, they will be shy, they will be smiling, they will be looking at another person. So that is because what happens is society, instead of encouraging someone in our modern society, I see a lot of people judging other people. A typical example I'll tell: when I was teaching, in Government College of Engineering Kannur, between 2012 and 14, I taught close to 300 students across three branches, 100 each, in EC, for 3 courses. So one interesting phenomena I observed there was, there were students who did their schooling in Middle East, like Dubai and other places, who are part of these classes. And whenever they interact, I see a lot of professionalism in them, because I saw a lot of etiquettes, which they learned in their school and that community. But then a couple of them came to me and told me, "Sir, in our culture in Kerala, if I say thank you to someone, no, immediately that person will make fun of me." Okay. So over a period of time, over the 4 years, they have lost all the good etiquettes they learned while they were in the Middle East. And recently, very interestingly, there was a IEEE, PES Young Professionals team, from Kerala, who did a long, 1 week workshop. So whenever what you call anchor for a session comes up, the person's name I will search in the LinkedIn. And one observation I saw was all the people who moderated the various sessions in that, when I checked, majority, they were all from Middle East schools, because they had done their schooling in Middle East, then they came to Kerala for engineering, and they were able to do a great job. So I was thinking, where is our Kerala educated students? Why we are not seeing them more and more, in these events? So this is one study of mine. So intent of talks are basically sharing stories with you, so that you need don't lose good etiquette, because best practices from the world, some of your friends are bringing, because they studied in some schools in Middle East, so they follow some of the best practices around the world. And that practice, if you don't follow, when you go into the industry, for example, I have seen a lot of Kerala students, including my students, coming for interviews to Philips. Okay. And I don't directly interview, because there is a conflict of interest. I used to tell my colleagues to interview them, and my friends used to give not so good news about these engineers. They were saying their etiquettes were not good. They may be technically good, but then what they were saying is their professionalism was not good. But some of these engineers whom we are talking about, they were some of my best students in Kannur. So I was thinking, what is happening to the students from Kerala? That is because one is we think some of these world global etiquettes that is why should I follow a thank you, because thank you is one of the first important thing in expressing gratitude to someone who has given you some support, or someone who has helped you to do certain things. And that is a must, especially in the Western cultures. For example, in US and Europe and all, if you don't thank someone for even the smallest thing, then they will feel bad about that. But whereas in our Kerala, people think it is a people are becoming something formal. But when you have to be formal, you have to be formal. When you have to be informal, we have to be informal. Let us not mix these things. Okay. So whatever my what you call observations on teaching there, and what the Middle East students who are in my class told, and what I observed in the recent IEEE event, where Middle East students, Kerala students were doing, a great job in anchoring these things. These are important insights and, things. So you should, because when you enter, your engineering, try to, understand these things. Okay, don't take it lightly, and don't make fun of your friends, for, using some of the world standard or global, traditions, they have learned. Don't negate, their existing culture. Because if you do that, when you get into the industry, you will exactly get into the same trap. That's what exactly I told. The best student of one of my first, top 10 rankers, my CET person, when I got an interview in Philips Station campus, this is very amazing for me, because my colleague, reported saying that, her or him, I will not, want to tell the name of the person, and her what you call professional etiquettes are not up to the mark. This is the feedback I got from my, this thing. This happens for, every student, from every institution in Kerala. So as students, who are entering into, you are this thing, kindly, keep this thing. And then communication ability. This is one of the biggest drawback of, students from Kerala. Okay, a Bangalore student, even if he doesn't have any set for any of the analytical skills, he does very well because he talks well and he presents whatever he knows well. But then a student from Kerala who is very, very skilled, and who is very good, in his area, that person, may fail, if the person is not able to communicate what is there on his mind. So you should, I understand, all of us study, including me, I studied the local, what you call, Kerala, Malayalam language. But then, when you get into the college and others, I try to sharpen, my skills of, both writing and, even what you call reading and talking. And by doing, listening to radios or reading newspapers, all these are ways by which, you can improve your skills. In fact, after I left 2014 from GC Kannur, I have written an article in the college magazine there about career building from campus. So that is available, I think in your, Facebook page of IEEE, and then you should read. Otherwise, I will put it in the comments, in the social media platforms. That particular link. It's a 3-4 page article which I wrote, where many of these things I have explained. But then that is 2014. But in the last 6 years, I had been interacting with a lot of people, and I got a lot of other insights. So that's what I'm trying to tell at this particular thing. So communication is a very, very important thing. I am telling you, even if you technically you are 50%, if you don't have, you can make up, with a good communication. Because whatever you know, if you can express crystal clear, then the other person will understand, and that is a great beginning. But what happens is, even 100%, technical guys, they are not able to express, in their communication. Then they are going to be a disaster. Because I work with a lot of engineers, in my last 20 years, in my what you call IT type of job, and I had this challenge. But some of these engineers who are very poor in the communication, in the beginning, over the next 2-3 years, they got transformed. Because I used to mentor them and I used to tell them these are things you do, and then they made a sincere attempt, and they became finally very fluent in their language, and along with their good technical skills and fluent language, they were able to excel. Some of these engineers who we wanted to reject, in our initial interview, they became, some of the world's topmost engineers. I have got, comments from my customers saying that this is a engineer, with a global, what you call, capacity or capability. So these are all, things, I heard, over this thing. And second is, when you are in the industry, you are not going to work, as an individual. You need to collaborate, because a project you cannot do alone. There has to be, people with different perspectives, coming together. So unless you all people, come together, what will happen? And then, share. There is a famous book on, Give and Take, by Adam Grant, from Wharton, Business School. So he talks about, this concept called, giving and taking. Some people, they are only good in taking. Some people, are only good in just giving. But what you need to do is a mix of, give and take. That habit, you have to develop. Okay, you cannot exist as an individual and, not look at your friends, eyes. You need to, collaborate, because the collaboration is the only way by which we can do projects. And if you are not a team player, you don't have much place, in modern, industries, and things like that. You may be good, as a researcher. If you want to become a professor, or if you want to become a scientist in a particular lab, that is okay. But there also, if you don't have the what you call, social, what you call, skills, like empathy and various things, you will not be liked by your colleagues. And if you don't get liked by your colleagues, you will have a tough time, living in these campuses. So you need to develop, soft skills. So there are a lot of soft skills. I will not take time here. And then you are able to see a T here. So this is a very interesting thing. So the top portion of the T is nothing but this cross-discipline expertise. That means whatever I am talking, in the next coming, few minutes. That means you should have a knowledge about different fields. So that's called the breadth. And then the depth, is nothing but your technical expertise. For example, if you are an electronics and communication student, you should be very strong on electronic circuits, then communication systems, and all those areas. You should be that is your specific domain. For example, if you are a mechanical engineer, computational fluid dynamics, then finite element analysis, a lot of these core areas. You should become an expert. So that is the vertical part, and then the horizontal part is the knowledge about different domains. So a good engineer is a person who is balanced on both the horizontals and verticals. So as part of your engineering studies in your particular branch, you focus on the vertical what you call line, and as part of your interdisciplinary projects, you will focus on the horizontal line. With new educational policy in place in the next coming a couple of years, even your syllabuses are going to undergo changes. So an electronic student will have the option to study some of the subjects of mechanical, civil, whatever he wants. He may also be able to study music, because abroad, Western universities, a student can take, a electronic student can learn about economics if you want to take a paper. If you want to take a paper on music, now he can take. So there are no restrictions that only these papers prescribed by the university you can take. It is all interdisciplinary there. So the same concept is what is coming in our institutions in the next 10 years, because by 2030, as per the new educational policy 2020, it should be fully operational. So you will see in the next 10 years a gradual transformation of the syllabuses to bring this sort of interdisciplinary approach in all our studies. The talk of mine is basically a curtain raiser. Okay, because I went through the educational policy, I went through I heard a lot of experts talking, including the director of Indian Institute of Science. So all of them are saying, okay, the current education system doesn't create holistic professionals. When I say holistic professional, means a person who is ready for community problem solving. Because by becoming an engineer, you are becoming someone who can solve society's problem. And there are a lot of interesting problems in the world. I will give some highlight, but I got only hardly some 20 minutes now, so I have to go fast. Yeah. I am introducing you a simple concept which is typically taught in design schools and all these management schools at this point. But in your national education policy also there is a mention on something called design thinking. So human-centered design is the other alternate term that is used for that, and we also call it as co-creation. So that means this there is going to be dedicated courses in your engineering going forward, because NEP already added design thinking as one of the courses for all engineering going forward. But when it will get introduced next year, following year, I don't know. But then it's a very simple technique. Okay, because there are three circles intersecting here, so it's called Venn diagram. And then you can see in the center what they have written is experience innovation. So let us understand each of these circles. One circle is called people. Okay, whenever you make a product, or whenever you make a solution, or whenever you make a service, it is for human being. Okay, so we need to understand which is the human being or a community for which we are developing the solution. Okay, we should know their mindset, we should know their habits, their behaviors, all those things we should understand. These are this is the area of a particular branch of studies called anthropology. Anthropology is basically involved in studying about human behavior and human evolution, all those things, supported by psychologists. Okay, so even in Kerala University, there are departments which offer psychology, and even anthropology also could be some of this thing. So these are all the skills required for you to understand the people. Typically, there is a notion that engineers don't understand people. Engineers are good, in their labs. They know tools, they know techniques. So they say, I will make something, work in the lab. But when somebody asks them, can you take this note from the lab to the field? Many of them, say, I don't like the field. I don't want to talk to the people. But that is not a good thing, because if you are only designing things for the lab, it is absolutely of no use. because every effort, everything funded by government is basically to improve, the society's living standards, society's way of doing things. So everything happening in the lab should finally reach a field. But it's a long journey. It is not as simple. Something which a academic professor makes in his lab, it cannot directly be put in the field, because there are a lot of other considerations which need to be put into these projects, basically for it to feed the field. First and foremost, we need to really work with the people in the field, the people who are going to use your solutions and products, to understand their mind, understand their need, and based on that only you should bring solutions. But in today's, our academic environment, whether it's IIT, NIT, or any of our government colleges, private colleges, the trend is build solutions in their laboratory without even thinking, the problem to which the solution need to fit. Okay, but that is going to change going forward. In this human-centered design philosophy, majority of the time, you are going to spend, in the problem solving, in the problem part. 95% of the time, you're going to spend, in identifying insights from the field and then making, a proper problem statement. So that's where 95% of the time you are going to spend, and 5% of the time you will spend for solution, because there are a lot of patents available, a lot of innovation frameworks available, using all those, a lot of components are available. So then you integrate all these things and then you make solution. But today in our academia, even industry, people start with solution. Okay, with available, whatever is available around them, they take the component, put it together, and they will do a demonstration. And many times now I have asked these teams, what is the problem that you are trying to solve? For example, in one of the reputed colleges in Kerala, there is a PhD team. Okay, and the faculty introduced me to that PhD team, and then they were started explaining everything about solutions. Okay, and then I listened carefully, because his solution I won't understand, because he is a master in his field, and he is explaining a very complex problem to me. So after 5 minutes, I told them, can you just stop? I wanted to ask you a question. Then I asked the question, what is the problem that you are trying to solve? Okay, there were four PhD students around, and they were all looking to each other in their face. Okay, and then they were explaining me a problem which immediately appeared to me as a solution. So again and again, I kept asking, can you again come back to the problem? What you are telling is a solution. But then, in spite of spending 10 minutes with these PhD scholars in one of the reputed colleges, I was not able to understand the problem that they are trying to solve. And understanding the problem is not a formulating a problem is a very difficult task. I told 95% of the time you have to spend, but then understanding the problem is not very complicated. But understanding solution, even if I have got a lot of experience, I may not be able to understand. That's what exactly happened there, because they were talking about a very core area in VLSI domain, which is not my cup of the tea. So whatever he was explaining, it didn't make, I was not able to understand. But then I wanted to start with the problem. What is the problem that you are trying to solve? Which, this team was not able to explain me even after 15-20 minutes. So that is the state of affairs, in a lot of places. But that will have to change with the new education policy, because first you need to, get the insights from, the communities and in the field, and then, you need to formulate a problem. We have to rephrase the problem, and then you should get into the solution. So we'll go into the next slides later. So one is we are designing products and solutions for people. That is the first thing we should understand. So we should try to learn techniques like psychology, some skills, then that anthropology, some skills, all those things. There are YouTube videos, a lot of things are there today. Even if it is not taught in the colleges, you can take these videos and you can easily understand that. And then the next circle is technology feasibility. The world has got a lot of technologies at this point. So can we do with all these available technologies this particular solution? So that is something which you should explore. And the next thing you should explore is, can I make an affordable solution to this user community? Because if I am designing a solution for the poorest of the poorest in our state, for example, fishing, the fishermen in our this thing, they are not very high in the economic strata. They are okay, but they go every day for fishing, and that's income for them. So if I make a product for a fisherman's community, it has to be affordable. So I need to make it at a lower cost. But if I am making a solution for a rich man, an Ambani, or that's this thing, he can afford a luxury. So there my what you call design consideration will be different. So that means when all the three circles, after you explore desirability from the human being, Then after exploring the technical feasibility of implementing a solution, and after exploring, whether this solution can be made affordable to these people, then, so this approach, and then finally you will get the sweet spot in the center, which is called, experience innovation. So there are a lot of other points which I have written on the right side, but I don't have much time. You people can read this and, you can understand. But then, in essence, what I'm saying is, we need to bring in, a lot of, what you call empathy and, human factors, in any product or, solution or, service design. This is an approach which I am introducing. In a sense, all of us are designers, because when I was a kid, in the first standard, second standard, I used to make a lot of prototypes, okay, with all the produce around my home, because with the coconut leaf itself, I have made a lot of prototypes, like balls to then fans. So a lot of things are used to make. So I was a designer, from those days itself. So the point is, as you progress in our school system, we lost all, those capabilities, and finally, by the time you come to engineering, you would have lost, all your inherent discipline. So actually, this design thinking philosophy has got 5 stages. One is empathize. Empathize means, you have to think like the other man. Because if you have found out a fisherman, for whom, you have to build a product, you have to think like a fisherman. You should not think like, I am a PhD holder, I am in this lab, I will think in the way in which I want. But that is not correct. You should understand now what is the use of, that product or solution for the fisherman, and you have to put yourself in the other man's shoes. Empathy means, you putting yourself in the other man's shoes. That means essentially, symbolically, that's a symbolic term, but then it essentially means you should think like how that person pursues this product and service. Like the fisherman, how does he, proceed, some particular gadget he is going to make. So if you think like that, that is called empathizing. Empathizing means you putting yourself in the other man's shoes, thinking like the other man, and so that, you understand their user need thoroughly. And while you do empathizing, you get a lot of insights, and then there will be 100 insights, but then you cannot implement all the 100 insights. So what you do is take the first, important insights, and then make a problem, saying, this problem is basically to develop something like that. So that is called problem definition. Next is called ideate. You have to come out with a lot of, solutions, because not one solution, you have to think about multiple things. That's why people sit together and they do brainstorming. So because different people come from different cultural backgrounds, different expertises, so different people will have different ideas and perspectives. So you have to come out with many solutions, and then you have to pick up, the first few solutions which are the best solutions, and then you have to make prototypes. That is the next stage. And then these prototypes you have to give it to, these communities. For example, when I talked about a fisherman's community, give this product, this prototype, to the fisherman's community, and then they will start playing with that, and they will give feedbacks to you. And then again, you may have to go back to empathize again. So there are a lot of iterative loops from every stage, in this one. What you are seeing is a linear flow, but that is not linear. You will have, a lot of iterations, from the last stage to the first, last stage to the second, things like that. That's how, a product evolves. Okay, and a prototype, suppose there are 100 features in a product or a solution, a prototype will only implement, 10 top, features, which are critical features. And people will not spend time for the 90 features, while they do a prototype. Because when you make this prototype with the first 10 features, if you give it to your customer, and if the customer throws it, then there is no point in developing 90 features. 90 features. So, but in our earlier methodology, because in the last 20 years, when I 30 years, 35 years, when I started in the industry, I have seen we used to spend, years and years, making a product, and then after that, we give it to a customer, he will throw into the dustbin, because we never consulted, the customer, we never consulted the end user. Okay, but whereas in the case of design thinking, we come out with, prototypes, every 1 month or 2 months. So you will get early feedbacks, from these customers, and then you will incorporate and you will refine the prototype. So it is nothing but, an iterative, philosophy, and this philosophy is also called now agile. Okay, because earlier models were called waterfall, where, you get, some requirements from someone, then you work on the design for 6-7 months, then you make, something for another 6-7 months, test it, and then you give it to the field. So it used to take 2 years when I started in the industry, but today every company, follows this philosophy called agile. Agile means, every 1 month, you will get an output. Okay, suppose there are 100 features. The first month, you will get, with some 2-3 features implemented, so that you can give it to the customer and get feedback. And the next month, you will implement another, 5 features, and then you can give it to the customer and get feedback. So you can get, feedbacks early, in this agile philosophy. So that is the way to go forward. So whatever I showed is a linear this thing, but there are a lot of iterations there. And then I am also showing you the right and left brain philosophy, because as I told, our analytical mind, left brain, no, is having the what we call convergent thinking. Convergent thinking means when there are a lot of data, a lot of facts, engineers are very good in taking a decision based on all these things. So that is called convergent thinking. But whereas a divergent thinking is what typically artists and other people do. They take a subject and from that, no, they will generate a lot of ideas. For example, a painter, if I give a theme to him, he can draw, at least some 10, 15, different, paintings out of that. So that concept is called divergent thinking. So in this design thinking, the 5 stages, some stages you have to apply convergent thinking, some stages you have to apply divergent thinking. For example, in the empathize and ideate, you have to apply divergent thinking. You have to bring in creativity. You have to come out with as many solutions as possible, as many insights as possible. So that's called divergent. But when you do a problem definition and when you do a prototyping, you have to converge on the first few, because you have to define the problem now. So you have to take some 2, 3, insights. Similarly, when you have got 10, some 20 solutions, you should take the first, some 4, 5 solutions. So from many, when you take, few, that is called, convergent thinking. So that is what you see in define and prototype. So these are things you should understand. So the last thing what you see is logic will take you from point A to B, but whereas imagination will take you everywhere. That's what Albert Einstein says. So I have there is a small diagram here, start and end. I think the start and end got collapsed. You are not able to see that. So you can see zigzag in the empathy phase. You can see your journey is zigzag. You get a lot of insight. Then in defined time, you become a straight line. That means you did convergent thinking. Then in ideate again, your journey is no zigzag. That is because a lot of ideas are getting generated. And then in prototype, again it became a straight line. So this is nothing but what you call divergent, convergent, divergent, convergent. And then you test and get feedback. Test is nothing but get user feedback. Give this particular product solution so that people play and come out with solutions. So I'm going a little fast now. So we need to understand this problem definition. That is the second stage. Okay. So I already explained you. If I says if I had an hour to solve a problem, I would spend 15 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about solution. Okay. And then Albert Einstein also says we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created. That means suppose there is a problem which is existing 40 years back. Okay. So that time when the problem came, solution could have been simple. But today, if I solve the problem, I cannot use the same mindset, what I had, that time to solve this problem. Because today, the world has changed. The world is an interconnected world. Pandemics are going to be the order of the day. Climate change, is in action. So in this scenario, if I want to make a solution, I have to bring all these new insights and realities into my mind. Then only I can make a beautiful solution. But 50 years back, the world was good because there was not much climate change issues. There were not much, a rush for buses to various things. Things were all very, very silent. So if I design a solution, it would have been simpler. But today, the same problem which was I addressed 50 years back, if I want to solve, I have to think about a lot of new things. Like as I told, the globalization issue where people are traveling across the world, and then pandemics, spreading, just like that, and then climate change, which is having a major impact in every part of the world. So all these things are new realities. So the solutions are becoming complex, but the problems remain the same. So that's what Einstein is basically saying. So innovation is problem solving. Problem solving is innovation. Defining a problem clearly and completely, represent 90% of the difficulty in innovation, which many students, across campus, whether it's IIT, NIT, or government, private, and I have seen they start with solutions, which is not correct. We need to work on problems. So if you see them on the left side, you can see an iceberg there. So you heard the story of Titanic. Okay, the captain of the Titanic saw an iceberg. He saw a tip of the iceberg, and he was so overconfident that I can move and I can hit and crush that iceberg. But what happened was there was a big portion of the iceberg underneath which he didn't see, and then his overconfidence finally sank the ship because it hit that big this thing. So that story is very important for engineers, because what you are seeing on the tip is only the tip of the iceberg, which is nothing but a symptom. Okay, like for example, everybody gets a fever. Fever means high temperature. So immediately we see the symptom and immediately we give a paracetamol. So the paracetamol, when it goes, the person's fever will come down. But after 2 days, again the fever comes back. Okay, again you give paracetamol. So how many paracetamol will you give? But if you really look at a fever or a temperature is a sign which is our human body is giving to us, saying that there is a problem with some organ somewhere in your body. In your physiology, there is some organ which is having a problem, and that issue is manifest as a temperature. So if you go to the below the surface of the ocean, you can finally find out the root cause. The root cause could be, there could be a liver, some issue. There could be, some other, part of the organ which is an issue. But then the symptom that we are seeing is fever. So we should not address, just the symptom. Symptom we can address. For example, if there is a pain, to suppress the pain, you can give a painkiller. But you should find out what has resulted in this pain. So that is the bottom of the iceberg, which is nothing but the root cause. So if the root cause is not addressed, okay, then the problem will never get addressed. But if you really look at all the solutions in our public place, majority of the places, we can see solutions are nothing but it has only addressed the symptom. It has never addressed the root cause. That's why these all the solutions, whether it's a transport bus or it's a waiting shed or any of those public place things, if you see, they will only exist for a year or maximum 2 years. After that, nobody will use, and those solutions will all become, thing. So, but if you implement solutions looking at the root cause, then these solutions will last for a long time. So I had the opportunity to work in labs in US and Europe as part of my work, and there I have seen the engineers there, they spend sufficient amount of time and understanding the problem, okay, and they document it, and then they do a lot of discussion, and then only they will touch a solution, because solution is only 5%. I will give one example. In Kerala, there's a big saying, "Kala bettu, kayaredukku." This is a very interesting statement. So many times, students do projects with this exact mindset. When I say, "Kala bettu, kayaredukku," immediately everybody will run for the rope. But then they don't understand this bullock, will not, give birth. So that is what is happening. So many of the students in the communities, not only in Kerala, across the country, they're trying to solve the problems which are not existing. Okay, only if the bullock, give birth only, then rope is required, right? But many people are making ropes without even thinking, that bullock will never, this thing. So this is the thing, that we need to change. So from the beginning of your career, you should not try to do this thing. So I'm trying to paint some, interesting stories here. This is the world that we live in. You can see some dark India there. There is some dark, Southeast Asia, there. So today, the world population is around 7.825 billion. Okay, and out of which 1.385 billion is from India, which is around 17 to 18% the global population. And then this population of 7.825 will become 10.5 billion by 2050. So many of the students who are currently undergoing this thing, you would have completed 25 years of your professional life by 2050. Okay, then your world population is 10.5. So that will bring out lot of issues for the world. And then United Nations has addressed these problems in different areas. There are 17 goals called UNSDG, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, which started in 2015, and then the target is 2030. So it's a 15-year journey. So we have already completed 5 years, so 10 more years to go. So these are all the different fields. That means the world, we want to reduce the hunger, no poverty, quality education, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth. So I encourage all students, okay, to go to the United Nations India site. There is a color wheel there, and in the color wheel, if you click on each of these goals, it gives a lot of information, and then there are a lot of videos on sustainable development goal. So many students ask me, what is the problem that I should solve? I tell, the problems are all around you. Only thing, you are not observing. You only are looking at the college labs, where there are oscilloscopes, multimeters, then there are other electrical machines and some mechanical, this thing. You are only looking inside your college. Why don't you look around? Talk to your father, talk to your mother, talk to your brother, talk to the people around you who are doing various things, starting from a farmer to, they are all the people who can give insights about the problem. But what happens typically is students only look inside, they are not looking outside. So UN Sustainable Development Goal, India is a major participant because our population is almost 17 to 18%. So there are different domains. There are a lot of challenges. And the United Nations India site, if you go there, there are a lot of interesting literature. I already given some links there, so you can learn a lot of things. So knowing the problem is not a problem. Okay, but then trying to get the insights from insights, and then refining the problem, and then trying to find out which problem should be solved. Those are all the things that the 95% of the time. So I encourage all of you to start using sustainable development goal as one poster in your what you call home. In your home, you put all these film actors or cricket players photos. So like that, one place kindly put in this color chart. And then every day, just go through, all these things, and then you try to map, what is your community around you, where are the challenges, in these areas, they are suffering, they are the best problems, which you can take it up. And then I'm going to the solution aspect. I am also talked about creativity, innovation. Creativity is nothing but a few ideas in your brain, but if you don't implement that, it will not become an innovation. So you can see, a wheel. One guy asked, look what I have invented. So you can see, everybody is thinking differently. The first guy says, what is the use of it? Okay, and then other person think, oh, I can use it for grinding some, grains. Other person thinks, no, I can use it for, some hanging something. The other person thinks, no, I can use it as a tire. The other person thinks, no, I can use it as a table. No, one stand for sitting. Okay, so this is the creativity. This is the only idea. Okay, but then we have to make it into, solutions. That is innovation. You can look at a umbrella here. So what is the innovation you are seeing? The frames inside the umbrella, this Japanese designer has put it outside. So what are the advantages? You can your head will not now hit, that frames. Second thing is, normally if you look at our umbrella, you have to put it in a corner of a room or somewhere, to make it stand. But whereas the new umbrella, you can put it anywhere. You can see, it will be erect. You can see that. So this is designed by, Hiroshi, Kajimoto. So simple innovations. You understood, how this thing. So don't think, umbrella had been there for the last 200 years, so it should not change. See, and innovative people think, how can I, make changes in this umbrella so that I get, additional advantages. Okay. So this is the funda. So now I am just quickly, only highlighting this technique called TRIZ. It's a little complex technique. So you can I will not explain much. This is the work of, a Russian, scientist who has explored millions of patents, and he has tried to make, a systematic, problem solving technique using some, charts and, some gate book and things like that. So what is happening is, if you see on the right side, you can see your specific problem. You can what you call map to a TRIZ, generic problem. TRIZ, has documented some, so many generic problems, and then the generic problems has got generic solutions, and from the generic solution you can, take your specific solution. So this is a journey from your specific, you map it to a generic solution which is few in number, and then that few in number has got, a solution available which is documented, and from those, solutions you can get ideas for making, your specific solution. So this is the flow of, TRIZ, and TRIZ uses some 40 inventive principles. So the table that you are seeing is this. For example, the second in the table, if you see, suppose, you remove, one particular part, then you can get a solution. Okay. Then another thing is solution number 5. Different parts of the puzzle, if they combine together, you can get a solution. That's called merging. Okay, so they like that there are different 40 different inventive principles are there. If we can apply this principle to your new, products and solutions, you can bring out, hundreds and thousands, different variations of product. That's what you see here. TRIZ is a little difficult to understand. We will do another session where I can talk about all these things. Then another thing is called systematic inventive thinking, which is a much more simpler form of TRIZ, which you can understand here. It has got, a couple of, different axes. One is called subtraction, unification, multiplication, division, and attribute dependency. I'll show some examples here. For example, this bike, in the gymnasium, you can see one what you call, a wheel removed. So that is called a subtraction. Similarly, on the right side, you are able to see a soup packet. Earlier, soup was in a liquid form in a glass bottle, which was there sold in a supermarket. But today, they removed the water. They removed the glass, this thing, they made it into powder, and they are putting it into a packet. So this is a subtraction philosophy. Unification means, multiple functions you put in a product, like a Swiss knife. You can see how many different functions here. Similarly, a fan with light, it is having multiple functions. That's why it's called task unification. Okay, then go to the next one, blade. Okay, gillet blade. There are 2 blades there. So the same function is multiplied twice. But whereas the soap bar is a different function. So it's an example of task unification. So this is an example of, both multiplication and unification used to make gillet blade. This is the next is, a toddler's, a cycle. You have a big this thing, and then you can, 2 wheels. So the same function, a different, tail. So that's ability you get. Division is nothing but, you divide, 2 parts. A big car, its back, you just divide it out. So when you are going for a movie, you will only take the first part of the car. When you are going to the farm, basically to pick up the produce and, bring home, you attach this trailer. Okay, and similarly, your AC, you have, your split AC, where the fan portion is outside your home, then the fin portion is inside home, you have a remote control separately, so you have divided the functionality. So this is the division concept. Okay, then the last is nothing but attribute dependency. For example, this is a what do you call a spectacle whose color changes when you go into the sun. So there is a that photo material, it changes color, and then when you are at home, the light is not there, it will become transparent. So an attribute is changing here. For example, Duracell battery. Okay, this advanced battery has got an indicator to show how much charge is remaining. So by just changing some property, you can see if it is completely discharged, you can see a red there. If it is fully charged, it is available as a green color there. So this is an innovation on Duracell. So this is the way. So these techniques, are simple techniques. If you start applying, or you look at the gadgets or products around you, you can see a lot of these concepts implemented. Okay, and then you can make prototypes here. You can see how prototypes are made. There are sketches here. You can make with cardboard. You can make with plumbing parts. So for example, sanitizers, when it came during COVID, some people from Tamil Nadu, they did this technique. They bought some pipes and they leg operated sanitizer they made with 5 parts. Similarly, a mobile application, when you make, there are a lot of graphical icons on the mobile screen. There are a lot of interactions happening across the various windows. So all these things you can represent like this. The center one bottom is a ventilator. Okay, 6 months back, some student team in Kerala, they did this ventilator, and this is the prototype they did in SolidWorks. Okay, it looks like a original commercial ventilator with all the this thing. There are different views were there. I just omitted. The top one is a person trying to use augmented reality or virtual reality headset. He has prototype like that. On the top right now is a toaster with all these cardboard pieces you can make. I am going to conclude saying that we need to develop a design thinking mindset as you progress in your career. We need to focus on human beings. You need to embrace experimentation, like Edison. Okay, before the first bulb, he did 10,000 different models of the bulb, and he was not able to succeed. But he tried and tried, and after 10,000 times, he got the electric bulb there. Then show, don't tell, because telling is nobody is going to believe. But if you can make a prototype and if you can go to someone, and then that person will believe you are done. Then be obnoxiously curious, because as an engineer, if you do everything around you, keep asking questions. Why not? Why not? Because this doesn't happen in engineering. If you ask questions, you will get intelligent answers to yourself, and then inspire and inspired. Be inspired. Okay, because I'm working with a student from what do you call the Marathanesius College of Engineering, Kodamangala. He's a seventh year mechanical engineer. I just guided him in a startup competition, and subsequently I've been interacting with every day. Okay, and that gentleman is inspiring hundreds of startup people in Kerala now. He has already filed his patent. He has already registered an LLP company. Okay, and then I heard him talk to his colleagues across colleges in Kerala, and I keep interacting with him. I keep giving some guidance to him. In fact, he came to me basically when he wanted to take part in some startup innovation competition. But I saw a student so much empowered. He is better than even some management school principals, professors. So because he has learned a lot of what you call hands-on experience, participating in various competitions and doing all these things, and he writes CEO of this LLP company, and a 7th semester student. Okay, so iterate everything. That means whatever you make, it's one final. You keep modifying that. That's what Edison did, and he made the final this thing. Fish and teach to fish. Okay, don't ask your teachers to just give you fish. They should teach you fishing, because when you are taught fishing only, you will be able to live going forward. Otherwise, every time you have to go back to your teacher. So as teachers and faculty from academia, our job is to teach you fishing, not to give fish. Many students in exam, they will say, sir, kindly give this note, kindly give that this thing. That is not going to take you anywhere, because you should learn the skills while you are in engineering. Okay, that's why teachers give assignments, because they are trying to teach you fishing. Because once you do assignment, all US universities and Western universities, they teach students by way of case studies. They use all the top management schools. Their approach is all case studies. They also give hundreds of assignments, and you will sweat it out. But then at the end of all these exercises, when you come out from these institutions, you will be able to face the real world. But whereas in our campuses, when I was teaching students will say, sir, give me that answer, give me this answer. That is like asking for fish. But you should think, I should learn fishing. Then I myself can take care of my career and go forward. Otherwise, you will need a teacher or somebody else, your father, mother, by your side, for you to do everything. So you should learn, the art of fishing from your mother, because if you are in the kitchen, you should try to learn, a life skill of, making some, dishes. Your mother will teach you. But everybody, what they do is they will go to the dining table, sit, and your mother will bring everything for you, because that will disappear as soon as you enter into your career, or when you go to a different city, that place, you will be left to dogs. For example, my son, he is in US now, so he never learned this life skill of cooking here. So when he went to US, he's finding it difficult to manage there. There, if you go outside and eat, it will cost $50. But if you make at home, it will hardly cost $2. So these are the life skills students should learn from your mother, father, and all those people, so that it will help you, when you get into your adult life. And mindful of the process. Be mindful. Mindful means live today. Just don't think about the past and think about the future. Just live the moments today, and you will be able to do great. And words matter. Okay, use simple language. Don't use jargons. In engineering, you learn a lot of complicated words. So don't use those words to talk to people. Okay, the layman or the man on the street don't understand any of the things. So talk to them in the simple words. So these are all the mindsets you should do. So I have put a lot of references there. Okay, these are all links. I will circulate these slides to you so that you can click and you can see that. So you can see the different disciplines there, and the dynamics of engineering, the gender equality there. So I will conclude my talk saying engineers will need to have the skills to communicate their designs through all types of electronic and data communication going forward. The engineering world is becoming more electronic and digital every day. This is from the Mechanical Engineers Association from US. So don't have egos, okay? Because in future it is going to be an interdisciplinary world. Everybody has to talk to each other. Let the departments don't exist as silos, okay, as islands. Because the new education policy is very clear. It is going to break all the silos, and then only when interdisciplinary collaboration happens across faculty and students, the education system in India is going to become vibrant. So that's exactly the Kasur Rangan committee, because Kasur Rangan, as you know, he had been heading Indian Space Research Organization, and he was very active in the climate and those areas. His Kasur Rangan reports, all of you are very familiar, and he has spent a lot of time in drafting this new education policy. So the biggest curse of education system in India is these islands which are existing. Unless you break these islands, which is what national education policy is going to do. There are a lot of changes you will see in the next coming years, where faculties are going to collaborate, students are going to collaborate, students from different departments can take different other subjects. So a lot of interesting things are going to come. But at the end, this cartoon says, it has come to my attention that every time we solve one problem, we create two more. From now on, all problem solving is forbidden. So this is a sarcastic thing, because when I worked in industry, I have seen engineers trying to fix a bug, and while fixing the bug, he will generate another 10 bugs. Because unless you learn and apply your skills, and then be patient, and then apply your mind, then only you will be able to solve real life problems in the world. Without real preparation, without real knowledge, if you start doing things, you will get into the bridges what you saw in Ernakulam, which is getting demolished now, that Palarivattam bridge. So like that, in our public space, you can see a lot of interesting things, okay, which are done by people who don't know that fundamentals, and that will become very costly for our country, because we cannot afford to build a bridge, and then next moment just completely demolish that bridge, because it is public money. So whenever you do anything, going after you complete engineering, you have to think about whose money is this. This is the money of the hard earning people around this country, okay, and their money you should not waste. So as engineers, we have a social obligation to do the right job first time. Our field is not a place for us to experiment, because it is public's money, and every dollar and every rupee matters. So we should come out with flying colors after these 4 years, equipped with all the tools required for doing a quality job. And the quality job, what I learned in Philips, is right first time. In many organizations across the world, people make a lot of mistakes, lot of waste gets generated, and then all the wastes are nothing but the hard-earned money of people. So Philips, the first thing they taught when I entered Philips was right first time. Okay, for right first time, you should become good engineers. You should learn what is the latest tools and techniques, what is happening in the world. So with this, I am just stopping, and then I think we will get into a panel discussion, and in the panel discussion we can talk about these the questions from the this thing. So Ramanand, over to you. Hello. Hello. Ramanand. I think Ramanand is there. I would now bring all our panelists from different departments onto the screen, and then maybe they can quickly introduce themselves, and then that's how we will do. I will bring J. Krishna Raj now. I will bring Ramanand now, and I will bring. I think Jay is already there, and who else I have not brought? I think once again, Asjad is also coming in. So I think I will, as a moderator, I will start, the proceedings now, because I overslept on the time. So what I will do is I would like to ask each of you, for a quick introduction, and I will start with, Jai Krishna Raj. Maybe a 1 minute, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah, I am Jay Raj. Took BTech from CET College in Trivandrum, and I had an experience of nearly 31 years in teaching. And I mostly spend my time in around 24 years in CET. Now I am in Government Engineering Kannur. Okay, that's it.
Yeah. Next faculty I wanted to introduce is Srish Ajay Kumar. You have to unmute. You have to unmute, Srish.
Oh, sorry. So I'm Srish Ajay Kumar, and I'm an alumnus of GC Kannur, and I did my MTech from NIT Kurukshetra, and I worked in Military Engineering Services, Kerala State Housing Board, and then I joined here in Technical Education Department as assistant professor. Thanks.
Yeah. So Srish is from Civil Department, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Next is Asjad.
So hi everyone, I'm Asjad Nabil. I'm an assistant professor in Department of Computer Science. So I did my BTech and MTech from QSAT, IHD colleges. And before I joined in this institution around 1 year back. And before that, I got an opportunity to work for as part of my research for a government funded project. Now that's it, sir. I think.
Okay. Thanks. Next is J.E. Varghese.
Hello, I am J.E. Varghese. Am I audible?
One second, Jay. Jay, could you turn on your video so that if it is possible? Otherwise, no problem.
It is turned on in mine. Some problem is there.
Yeah, no problem. Then you proceed. Proceed.
Sorry, it comes as a symbol, something like that. I don't know what is happening.
You proceed.
Okay. Myself, I am J.E. Varghese. I am from the Department of Mechanical Engineering. I graduated my BTech in Mechanical Engineering from Government Engineering College, Thrissur in 1990. Pursued my MTech also. So basically, I am in the thermal field. My passionate field is thermal sciences, heat transfer, and things like that. I am in the teaching profession for the last 24 years in various institutes. So I've been in the Government College of Engineering for a couple of years, last 2 years.
Yeah. Thanks, Jay. Okay. And from electrical, now we don't have a representation, but then we will skip. And Ramanand, you can also introduce yourself.
Sir, myself Ramanand, assistant professor at Electronics and Communication Department. I joined EC department last year. Before that, I worked 2 years in industry as a software engineer at VVDN Technologies Kochi, and worked in BSNL for 2 years as a junior engineer. And I worked in teaching PS. I have an experience of 5 years. That's all.
Yeah, thanks, Raman. So I am going to ask you a couple of questions, basically to bring out your perspectives on various things, because you have seen my conversation also. These are not very complex things, or these are things all of you are practicing now. So the idea is basically me to just ask you some questions so that your perspectives, you can add. So what I'll do is I will ask this question to all the people, and I'll keep prompting each of the persons so that you can answer that. So my first question is, you all introduce yourself, all eminent faculty, because as I told I was part of GCEK for 2 years, and I have seen most of the faculties are PhDs from IITs and other national institutions like NITs, and you also take part in a lot of research activities and government funded projects and things like that. So that way, I see a highly meritorious faculty in GCEK compared to many other colleges. So my question just I wanted to pose is like this. What is the branch of engineering you are representing, which you already told, but again, as a refresher, you can just tell what is the branch that you are this thing. That is one thing. And then what is the critical role this branch of engineering is playing in the world? Okay, and you can tell with respect to our state, our country, and the world, how important is this. For example, if I am an ENC, maybe after an ESC graduate comes out, what is the role that he is going to play in the society? What are your perspectives? So what I'll do is, my question is again this: what is the branch of study you can just mention, and what is the critical role this branch of engineering playing in the world? Then world at the higher level, then in our country, and then the state in this thing. So I will start with the Jaykrishna Raj. If you, I think Jaykrishna, I think you are muted. Now you are muted.
Okay, okay. Now I am in electronics and communication engineering. My opinion is that in and around every problem is having a solution with electronics, because everything Internet of things are coming, and even in medical field, a lot of medical instruments are there, which is incorporating electronics, and even the telemedicine, and even teleoperation is carrying out. That robotics, which is made use of Internet of Things. That the doctor is sitting in the US, is doing operation in somewhere in other area of the world. So there is a lot of opportunities for development, and as well as inventions, as far as electronics are concerned with the society. So every solution to the problems of the humanity can be done with the help of engineering. So every problem will have an engineering solution, and that could be solved by engineers. And the machinery of government also should be make use of the engineering perspective to solve all the problems that the society views.
Yeah. Thank you, Jaykrishna Raj. That's a great perspective. Next is Srish from the civil department.
Yes, sir. Sir, I am from the civil department, and before starting or before talking about civil department, let us first of all, I will share a quote from Winston Churchill. In his words, he said that we shape our buildings and thereafter they shape us. So from this quote itself, it is clear that how much it is connected with common man. And if we check the different sub-disciplines of civil engineering, transportation engineering, environmental engineering, there itself, water supply, wastewater treatment, then building structures, everything is connected to the society or the whole world. So it's an evergreen branch of engineering, and the scope of this engineering branch is unlimited. And the students who are pursuing a career in civil engineering has a lot of opportunities. And I think the students should be more focused towards the society, towards the common man's need, and innovate things in that manner. That's all, sir.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great perspective. A couple of areas you told at the last, now we are again going to touch upon. So there you can talk in detail about your thoughts there. Next is now from computer science, now Asjat, Nabil. I think you are muted there, Asjat. Yeah.
Hi, myself Asjad Nabil. I'm representing computer science and engineering. So when the question is regarding the opportunities in computer science engineering, so before telling that, I just want to tell my personal opinion, because the branches, as you rightly said in your talk, in today's world, the boundaries are just put it in a way that we can manage things and we can teach things to the students. But that boundaries of different departments are actually nearly zero now. So that is the first thing. So second thing, we are asking me specifically on the computer science subject, which we taught under the computer science branch. If you could say that. So what I would like to share is like, so in today's world, we know everything has a software support. So if you're talking from the very basic things of a human man, so whatever it is, there will be a software support. So we can map the software into computer science part. So in that way, computer science is involved everywhere. And what I try to tell my students in computer science engineering, so don't search for a problem in computer science domain. So that is the first advice when students come to approach me for the projects. So search problem from your surroundings. It's like it can be from different departments. So as a faculty from computer science branch, I may not know much about the different branches. So what about my future opportunities, suggestions for the computer science students? So don't think something like you are inside a boundary called computer science and search for the problem. So computer science is having, as we know, that industry 4.0, it's all about smart activities like IoT, things like that. So where in any domain in that matter, not just another engineering domain, in healthcare, as well as in even the humanity aspects, there are a lot of scope for computer science and engineering with you may be familiar with the term of artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, things like that. So that the boundaries, that opportunities are actually infinite. So only the students can explore further. So that is always the thing which I want to share with the students who want to explore something in the computer science engineering.
Yeah. Thanks, Asya. That's a good perspective. And from the mechanical engineering department, J.E. Verghese.
Thank you, sir. I am J.E.K. Verghese from Mechanical Engineering Department. So I represent the stream Mechanical Engineering. So the significance of mechanical engineering is like whatever product we see, whatever phenomenon we see in the nature, all has a role in the mechanical engineering. Start from the automobiles which we drive, then the other, any product if you see, it should come through, at least one of the components should come through the mechanical engineer. Then the space application, things like that. And moreover, all these technological aspects, one of the core subjects in mechanical engineering is the thermodynamics, which is the subject for the universe. So we can harness the different principles, different principles, laws, etc., for making good products, as we have been doing, like in engines, power plants, then maybe a refrigeration system for human comfort, and everything is there. In addition to that, the world is in a sense, for the maximum, the most important thing the world requires is the energy and the efficient and judicial utilization of the energy. So when we study the subjects, especially the thermodynamics, etc., the first thing which should come to our mind, or we should have a feel for, whether you can apply the brake now or whether you should go slowly, so as to judiciously use and save the high grade energy in the world, which most of us may be lacking in the when we are doing the day-to-day activities. So if this comes to our mind, if as a faculty or as a mechanical engineer, if I can impart this to the society, I will be the most successful person. This is, in my viewpoint, it is something like which is very important. Other than all the engineering designs, things, etc., every product you have a mechanical engineering hand behind that is there. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lee. I thought, I will represent the electrical department because I have a lot of close colleagues, in electrical there. So maybe, because of some other event there, they are not able to participate here. So just for the input for all the students here, though I studied, electronics and communication, in CET, I had subsequently, as part of Bharat Electronics, where I started my career, and attending, Indian Institute of Science, many courses here. I had really, developed an interest towards electrical engineering. In fact, I have implemented a lot of products and solutions for electrical engineering is part of a small scale industry in Bangalore, which my brother runs. So electrical engineering, as you saw, is a very old field of engineering. And if you really see the key milestones in the world, the first was a steam engine. That was, a couple of centuries back. And the next revolution which happened was on electricity. Okay, and then Edison's bulb, that could be regarded as one of the pioneering efforts in electricity. And today we are talking about whenever somebody talks about an electrical engineer, immediately we will remember the electrical meter in your home, and then the power generation sites like Hydel project in Idiki, or where the power is getting produced, and then you can see transmission lines. We are bringing all these electrical power to substations close by. And you have seen, substations in many parts of, the Kerala, different substations, 6 kV, and there are, other this thing. And then finally from there, as 11 kV, it comes to your transformer, near your, street, and from there it will come out as 230 volt, which is powering your appliance at home. So there is electrical generation, transmission, then distribution. All these things, had been existent, for the last 1 century. But the trend, what had happened in the last 20 years is all the electric grids, are now becoming smart. So smart grid has become the order of the day. That's where electronics and computer science, a lot of things are getting in. There are a lot of protocols, which has got into electrical grid. Because smart grid, when I say, there is a lot of innovation there happening where the power losses are reduced, and there are a lot of every control is becoming electronic nowadays. And also, because of the smart grid, a lot of software protocols are in action. For example, there is a famous protocol called DLMS, which is used in energy meters, which enable it to be, meter reading. There is no need for a lineman to go to the meter. Now all the meter reading, can be done with, LoRa networks, remotely from the electricity office itself. So electric grids are undergoing massive transition. And as I told, there are a lot of mechanical, vehicles, IC engines are all changing into electric vehicles. So it's going to be battery management system, BLDC motors. So electrical machines, in a very improved, high efficient form is getting into all these platforms. And renewable energy, because the energy, from Hydel project is clean, but then if you look at, our majority of source of energy in our country is through, fossil fuels, where coal is being, burned in, and a lot of pollution happening from there. So world over, because of the climate change, there's a big transition happening, into renewable energy. Renewable energy could be, solar PV, or it could be, the what you call windmills, or it could be, geothermal energy by harnessing, the temperature difference between, different, parts of our, Earth itself. You can bring energy back, and tidal waves. Okay, because a lot of energy, gets extracted from, tidal waves. So there are different types of renewable energy, coming up. And nuclear energy, that itself is a different part of engineering, which we don't talk here. So a lot of innovations are happening on the renewable energy field. So this is my, thought I am covering for my electrical engineering friends. The next is, my question is, the new education policy, NEP 2020 focuses on interdisciplinary work, fostering critical thinking, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Because at this point, in our academic institutions, because of government's policies, they are talking about, setting up incubation cells and, entrepreneurship and all those things. And then they are also talking about innovation, IPR, and things like that. But new education policy very clearly writes all the work going to be, in future is going to be multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, which should foster, the critical thinking in people. Because the current way of education is, you study and then mug up and then put it into your examination papers and then you get marks. That's the end of it. But then, as I told in the Western, universities, the teaching is very limited. The teacher is basically going to guide the students to different paths, and students do extensive work, researching articles and going to the libraries. Student is only a facilitator. No, a teacher is only a facilitator. But then a student has to really use critical thinking. That means everything, what he is trying to learn or what is presented in front of him, he looks at it from a multiple perspective. So education policy, very clearly says we need to foster critical thinking, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So what are your thoughts? That is my next question. So I'll start with this time. I'll start with in a reverse order. I'll start with J.E. Varghese.
Thank you. Can you pose the question once
the
again?
question is the new education policy NEP 2020 focuses on interdisciplinary work, because that word multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary appears in many parts of that NEP 2020, and there also it says it is to foster critical thinking, innovation, and entrepreneurship in students. So what are your views on this?
My view regarding this policy is like it is welcoming development from the regulatory authorities like AICT, etc., to make the things educational system a multidisciplinary thing. And in Kerala Technological University, we have already started such a system from the new scheme in 2019 scheme. Which we have a provision for the students to take a minor course in a discipline other than their own. So an electrical engineering student can study thermal engineering aspects of mechanical engineering, which is very much essential for them if they go to KCB or as an electrical engineer. So in that way, it is very welcoming thing. Provided one of the feedbacks, one of the disadvantages of a present day educational system that is inevitable. I don't find any solution for that. But a doctor who studies in a medical college is taught by a practicing medical practitioner. He practices and he just injects the person and he just operates on the person if he is a master in MD or master surgeon, etc. But what we lack here is the students is lacking a chance to go to the industry and at least live in the industry for a period of 6 months. A few may be getting a chance as an internship, but we have lakhs of people coming from our state itself. So all of them may not be admitted to the industry unless he get a chance to live in the real world. He may not get a chance. He may not get a feel of being an engineer. Like when I passed my BTech, I couldn't make out whether it's a half-inch bolt or say 5/16 bolt or something like that. So this is something which is lacked. Even though we can say that all these can be gained in due course when you are into the industry. So all the industry people are saying that or complaining that the product which they get from the colleges, educational institutions, they are not directly employable as a doctor is, because doctor gets his degree after being an internship or say a house surgeoncy and things like that. So this is something which not just the government or the educational institutions, but the end users of these products, that is engineers, fresh engineers who are coming from the institutions, are to be taken in industry. So industries should also be on, consider this as their own need and just don't see the then and there profit. Rather than the industries should also see a long-term achievement for the society. Then only it will come to say fruitful for all the stakeholders, like the graduates or the government or the society, the industries themselves, etc. So now so I'm coming to this multidisciplinary thing. What I wanted to say is like BTech, generally the syllabus is packed with stuff. A lot of things a student has to study. So what I believe is that it is not how much we study, it is how we study that particular subject. Uh, uh, Even though a particular person is graduate from mechanical engineer, he might get a job somewhere else and he can do that job. And most of the industries now, they are coming to, I mean, maybe till last 5 years back or so, they were coming to the engineering colleges because they get good stuff, good brains in engineering colleges. Now the situation has changed. So interdisciplinary skill is very much required, especially in this era, because almost all the products are being say integrated from different fields, like a robot. So if you take robotics or a washing machine or a car, etc., there will be mechanical components, there may be electrical components, there may be the controlling unit will be from other branches, and the coding will be done by the computer. So a person who sees a particular product, a mechanical engineer who sees a particular product should be able to understand, at least have a basic knowledge on all the fields. So it may not be able to achieve all the knowledge from all the fields, but at least one or two extra skill if you are gaining, that will be very much advantageous. A mechanical engineer with a mere mechanical engineering knowledge cannot survive in the forthcoming competitive world. So basically, in general, I appreciate that, but that should be done in a proper way. Proper way means maybe a brainstorming discussion should be required, how to implement that in the real situation.
Yeah.
That's my point of view.
Yeah, thanks. I think a lot of very interesting points which has come up. Maybe at the end, as a concluding thing, I will also bring out, the perspective from industry, because though since I had the opportunity to work in both the domain, I had been, a middleman in many of these heated arguments, which I will throw some inputs on. But a lot of interesting points you touched there. The next person is from computer science. Now, Asjad, your views.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Regarding with the interdisciplinary project, so I from 2016 onwards, I had an opportunity to work with a couple of government funding projects, one by DST and one by BIRAC. So I was part of the research team, which is in Manipal University. So we had collaboration with the medical team, that Kasturba hospital team, and we also have some foreign collaborations in that. So before joining her, that was a very good opportunity. So that time actually I had realized the importance of interdisciplinary projects. So when we are considering the UG, because UG is the major course which we have teaching in our engineering subject across the India. Also MTech is also there. But if you are talking about the major portion UG, so if the students need to do some project which has to have an impact, so that is a main thing. So if he is doing a core research in his own domain, so it is very because their competency level as well as the current situation, because we know that almost all areas or branches actually is in a matured level. So if you need to do some impact in their own core domain, it is a bit of hard because they have to be part of a core research team and things like that. But if you are talking about the interdisciplinary research, so there we have a lot of in the sense infinite options which is unrevealed just because of lack of communication and the out of box thinking. So if I'm giving a specific example, if you're talking about a blind person, so there are now also we know that they are using a stick. Okay. So now we know that we have a lot of algorithm which runs in the camera, like the mobile camera, which can identify faces. It can tell the age of a person, and you can judge whether it's a gender, male or female, things like that. So what if could develop something like that for a blind person? How much it could be helpful for him? It is some kind of a device which is giving an auditory feedback to the person, saying that, okay, you are seeing the outside world, something like this, like a friend can explain. So that is just an example. So in interdisciplinary area, the importance in the UG projects, what I believe in, so they can make a big, huge impact to the society and the people with a relatively simple effort in technical aspect. So that is my point. So that will happen not by just in-room thinking between the faculty and the student. It should have an elaborated brainstorming session between different stakeholders in that activity. It can be by doctors and by the blind people itself, and it can be from the humanities side and like ethical aspects. So if that kind of a thing is, that kind of an ecosystem is there, because in our UG competency, that is a technical ability, so they can do wonders. So that is one of the impact, or one is the important aspect of interdisciplinary projects in BTech system. That's what my point is.
Yeah, thanks, Asjad. Great inputs you have put in there. And our last point, we will discuss a couple of things. I see some potential to implement in our colleges. Next is from Civil Department, Srish.
Yes, sir. So before starting, I will just take all these three: critical thinking, innovation, entrepreneurship in detail. So the main thing that I have experienced, actually, I had an opportunity to teach after my MTech. There, I have seen that I taught basic civil engineering to EC students. So actually, these students are coming from directly after the plus two. There, I have seen inquisitiveness, curiosity to ask why this happens. Whenever we teach something, they will ask why, sir, how it is happening, why it can't happen like this. But now, when I joined this college 2 years back, and I started teaching third year students or fourth year students, they're just hearing what we are saying. They're not asking questions. There is no curiosity or any inquisitiveness in them. So I think this is the main problem with this critical thinking and all. And engineering is really, it demands critical thinking. And for innovations, it is a big part. And innovations, so as an engineer or as a social responsible person, we have to be critically thinking to create something innovative. And that should be, as in your talk, as you have already pointed out, that the products that or be affordable to the common man. So in that portion, in that part, this innovation and the interdisciplinary approaches are important. And I think you have clearly pointed out in that example with fishermen that whenever we are making just creating a cluster management system, civil engineering, if you are saying about some slop failure and all, if some sensors can easily or this disaster managing or warning systems, then it will be very easily detectable, and it can be predicted more. So it should be in both ways. It should be socially responsible and affordable to all people. That's all.
Yeah, thanks, Srish. That is great. And lastly, from Electronics Department, Jayakrishna Raj. You have to unmute. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I have watched your talk full time, and so many things are there, and some things are like design engineering. The KTU has introduced a subject in design engineering, and my view is that there should be more emphasis to practical in the engineering education, because people are not understanding the technology, only they are understanding the theory. So there should be a practical exam, and more specific should be given to the practicals. Then only they will understand what they are learning in the theory classes. And I also agree with the other people who said about the engineering, interdisciplinary engineering, etc. That will come later. Before that, I will mention my view about the new education policy. I have gone through that, and the new policies are very good. I have some opinions also. The thing is that when the child is doing its pre-primary classes, they should be given opportunity to express their views. Views means their thinking process, and they should be given opportunity to express their feelings in the class, and that should be observed by the teachers. And then we should understand their skills, in which way they are going to excel in later on. And by identifying that skill, the students should be directed to that area later on. And they should be allowed to give a training program. And then whether that the skill of the student is in the engineering side, or in the literature, or in the research, or in medicine, and all this should be evaluated, and they should be direct. So here nowadays what is happening is, a student who is interested in literature will be forced to go into engineering or medicine. So there she or he finds difficulties because her passion has been changed, or he has forced to change his or her field. So that creates problem. So, and another point in my experience, which I have observed, is that nowadays the students coming to higher studies are lacking curiosity, quest, and thirst for understanding, and quest for knowledge, etc. So, what happens is they will learn the printed notes and don't understand any technology. So that should be changed. So a good engineer or a good person should have the qualities of observation and high eyes around his head to observe all the things that is happening. And a good engineer should be able to think his or make his thinking process in such a way that he should answer to certain questions like why, what, when, how, etc. So then only a good engineer can be, an engineer can become a good engineer. And also everything in and around our is having problems with electrical, maybe electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, or maybe computer science engineering, electronics. Well, so he should have given a basic knowledge in all engineering subjects, some programming skills, some experience with electrical machines, some with the mechanical machines, all these things. So then only he can make his knowledge he acquired during his BTech study to make a good solution to a problem that is existing. Or he can find a solution by observation. Now coming to the interdisciplinary area, as far as BTech is concerned, I know that in first year they learn a lot of engineering subjects, different engineering subjects regarding the mechanics of solids, mechanics, then engineering drawing. All these things will help in the curriculum, so that when we learn about the design thinking or design engineering, and then comes to product design, the later stage in the electronics and communication engineering. I don't know whether there is a product design subject in mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, but in electronics there is a subject. Now earlier in the BTech, when I studied, it was mini project, and later on when when the CET became a part of the impact project, which the government of India selected certain colleges to undergo certain funding. Then I went to CEDT, that is a center for center in for the electronic development in IAC. Then they give product design training to us, and that we introduced in CET. And then finally the Kerala University adopted that technique to change the mini project to mini product or product design at the 6th semester. So these sort of things can improve the skills develop understanding a product design. And product design means everything inside, and how the circuit has to be made in a into a box that they are designing. and what should be the ergonomics, aesthetics, everything, every aspect is taught to them, and they had a good idea about these things. So this will help in making all the understanding of the all other branches to make a solution to a certain problem which he understood. So there should be certain changes in the curriculum so that these things will be incorporated. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. So I think we are 19 minutes past. So I will take the liberty to use 11 minutes now to have a summarization, and then I will have one quick round with you again at the end of my summarization. So let me do a couple of summaries starting from Jaykrishna, Raj, so the point that you mentioned, he was stressing on a department in the IAC called CDT, and now it is called system engineering department, a seed or something. It has been changed. So when I came to Bangalore, one of the thing I used to do was I used to do a lot of evening courses in IISc, and I used to interact with this particular department. So if you really look at this department, it is everywhere. It is projects. You can see the labs full of projects, and the faculty is so practical. And and IISc is basically, if you look at there, it's a theoretical institution, whether it's computer science or microbiology or everywhere lot of deep research is happening in various fields. So this is the only place where I saw they were looking at the external world. They were looking at communities, and there was a professor called Professor Jamadagni, whom I recently invited for an IEEE event. He was a key faculty there, so I learned a lot of things under these faculties over different evening courses that I did there. So as he rightly stressed, the culture of that department is projects, and these are not just theoretical projects. These are all projects for for communities. Some industries come out with a problem, so the CDT comes out the solution. There could be a lot of other community issues they will do. All those things finally will end up as a project, as a solution by an entrepreneur somewhere in the industry. So I used to see always a result of all the things that they were doing. That's a very important highlight that you were saying, changing these projects into solutions. Mini, instead of mini projects, it should be mini solution. That's what it should be called. And another flaw, what I have seen is most of the time, our projects are in the final years, and we have this menace of campus recruitment, which students and parents feel that's a great thing. If my son or a daughter gets a job, in the final year itself. But the biggest erosion that is happening, is as soon as the campus recruitment, results come out, then the students, will lose all the interest in academia. And unfortunately, our project is in the final year. Okay, so the only thing we can do is, at least these mini projects, we should make, students do it very thoroughly. Because even my son, he is yet to do his project, in his 7th and 8th semester, but already he has got a job. So when I asked him, he says, I am going for my internship, in my company. That means, so that the whole, spirit of, the project, the amount of time, quality time people spend in the final year project is coming down. But maybe, in the future discussions in the university, there will be some thinking, whether this could be advanced or whatever it is. But then the final project is the culmination of all the subjects that students have learned. So there is no way, you can prepone that. But at the same time, I had been discussing, with the academia industry, again and again, because there was an effort by NASCOM a couple of years back. That time I was a director in Tech Mahindra. I was part of their campus recruitment. I was leading telling all the industry guys, don't touch our students in the pre-final year. Okay, maybe towards the last 3 months of their course, you can touch. Okay, because this is like 1 year before that, if they touch, they are completely creating a chaos in these institutions. But there were a lot of discussions in NASCOM, because NASCOM is the apex body of industry body for all industries. But I don't think they were able to influence all these industry guys. When I was in Tech Mahindra, I told there was once a placement meeting. I saw 100 200 people from the academy, and all the placement officers came, and then our one VP was there, and I was the lead of this campus recruitment this thing that year. And then suddenly one elderly person from the placement officers in Bangalore, one college, stood up and told, all industry guys are coming every year to pluck out the flowers. Okay, but they never contribute, in watering or fertilizing these plants. Okay, and they want to only come to pluck out the flowers. That final outcome, of all these, this thing. That explains, the point, that our JE was mentioning, because industry, is very selfish in that extent. Because what the gentleman was openly telling, and even all our senior leadership, they were stunned because they were silenced completely. Because that is what exactly every company is doing. They will come and they will select a people, they will put a list, and they will pluck out and go. But what do they do in return? Do they connect with the campuses? Do they give expert talks to students, faculty, and do they give some permission to do internship? All these places, there is a big gap. That is what exactly he was saying. So as I told, the basic issue, what I understand from our industry friends is that in the industry, internship people are not regarded like how that they are regarded in US. For example, my son, when he graduated from Georgia Tech, he did an internship in a particular place. They took care of him very well. Even if it's a not the full salary, a reasonable good salary was given, and he was given core work, and people there was mentoring him, and he was given quality work. So there need to be a lot of commitment, from industry folks, on internships. They cannot bring somebody and use him for xeroxing their papers, which I have seen in many industries in India, because everybody is busy in India. The point is, they don't want to spend even a few seconds or few minutes with the interns whom they are recruiting, and then interns will keep sleeping. I have seen in even large companies, nobody attends to them. They will come, they may get some stipend, but nobody gives them directions, because everybody is busy. And then they will end up in xeroxing papers and things like that. So the entire internship architecture has to change in our country. The outside, I have seen they respect interns very well, because they are the future employees. And if you don't respect a intern, that means he will never respect even the employees. So there has to be a lot of discussion which should happen. I think that point was well brought out by him, because he's I think Jay was talking about half inch bolt versus the other this thing, that these are all facts. Because unless these students work with with some of the industry friends and get them mentored, you will not understand what you call the actual field aspects. But interestingly, one good thing I am seeing in the electronics and software world is, you don't need to go to an industry now, because with a few few 2,000, 3,000 rupees, you can set up a very good lab in your home itself, because there are a lot of open source boards and open source hardware, by which software, hardware, and all, you can make a good lab, and then you can play with a lot of things. In fact, when I was in GC, I used to conduct multiple embedded system workshops there. One of the students won a third prize in a state innovation competition that time. But then I didn't see everybody picking up that stream. So the point is, students should think, especially these freshers, they should think that you need to be proactive. Okay, there are Arduinos, there are Raspberry Pis, there are open source things. So you can start small baby steps you can take, lighting an LED using an Arduino, then start rotating a motor, and then after you are advanced, you move into a Raspberry Pi platform, where you can have Linux. You can play with Linux. You can install a Wireshark network sniffing platform. You can decode the packets going over the Wi-Fi network. So like that, the open source culture of hardware and software has opened a big movement in the, at least in the electrical, electronics, and what you call software industry. But then civil engineering also, I think that open sourcing concepts will soon start appearing, because now a lot of things are affordable. In US universities, I have seen with plumbing boards, they make very interesting things. From standard building blocks, you can create a lot of things. Even mechanical engineering, there are a lot of standard building blocks. So I think within the university, as all the faculties told, we need to have different faculties from different departments sit together and start brainstorming and arrive at some few building blocks. For example, in electrical, electronics, and software engineering is very clear. Raspberry Pi and Arduino, and then some of these OpenCV and some libraries and all. We can list some 10-15 things like that. Even in civil and mechanical, also I feel standard building blocks we can list, so that people can integrate and make multiple solutions. So the internship point what he has told is very, very true. I have really observed this aspect very closely, abroad and here. Even Mike itself, I use them to give feedbacks there. So that is one thing, and then the biggest problem is the number of engineers who are coming out in India is much high, and industry always says no, only 20% of the people are employable. So this is the notion where this industry is saying we don't have capacity to give internship to all the people. But even whatever capacity that they got, at least 20% of these people, let them give internship. But there are also our industry culture is they are very selfish, because I was in the industry for 30 years and 4 years in academia. But I am always in the side of academia on this particular thing, because industry guys are selfish. Just like the elderly man told you, people come to pluck flowers. You never water or fertilize these plants. So we need to change that. So let us see how this is going to this thing. And as our mechanical engineer professor Jay told, how much we study, that is not the point, but how we study. That's very important. I think even for studying, we need to have a certain process written down, because in industry we for example, when I interview a candidate, I look at candidates in this order, because attitude is the first thing I'll assess in the candidate. Even if he is a PhD, or even if he is 100% in his exam, I never take anybody unless the first point I focus is attitude. Then the next thing is aptitude. In the aptitude, I look at whether this person is familiar with the tools, and whether this person has got learnability. For example, the clock problem that I told you in the beginning of the talk, that is one exercise I give to all the people, because the way in which a person solves in 5 minutes that particular problem, how he writes down, draws the pictures, because many of the students they don't even write on paper. They will keep everything in their mind and they make mistakes. So a person, if he understands a problem, if he don't record in a paper and then solve the problem, that person is a danger for organization. That's how I used to do that. So that is aptitude. Then the next is competency. Competency means as a mechanical engineer, if he doesn't know how to turn a operate a lathe, or do some fitting and other things, and make some coupling, then he doesn't have the competency. So the practical, that is what Jayakrishan Raj also told, unless you dirty your hand, play with things, and then unless you develop the competency, then that person is not due use. Then only I will look at skills. Skills are nothing but the things which applied skills people get from all these practicals. And the last thing only I will look at it as complex knowledge. Okay, because knowledge you can gain. If I train somebody for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, I can make him a Java programmer or C++ programmer, or I can make him a particular discipline, a SolidWorks engineer or CATI engineer. But then if his attitude is bad, then everything goes for a toss. So my industry exposure was the best engineers, whom I performed for me, over the last 30 years. They were very good in attitude. They were very good in aptitude. They had good competencies. They had skills, and then they had knowledge. I told 62% people have become the best engineers now in my this thing, who were praised by the best in the Silicon Valley. But whereas 85% engineer in my team, she found struggled to implement certain things. Her knowledge is theoretical. She was not able to put it into practice. So I have seen these extremes. That means industry basically we look at, because this absolute mark doesn't have much meaning as far as industry is concerned. Industry looks at learnability as the most important thing, because industries needs are changing every day. So we look at the foundations of the engineer. So when I interview, I look at bits, bytes, then that equation to this equation, like that. Now small things. I will not ask them to mug up something, but I will give some equation to them and explain me, how do you did how? Because I think again and again faculty was talking about whys and hows. Because when I did my first series exam in GCEK in 2012, okay, many students scored 40%, 50%. Okay, then they all came to me and they told, sir, we are only used to what? You are only asking me, you are asking me hows and whys. This is not the way in which we learned, because I taught them S8 computer networks. That is the subject which I taught first there. And the first series says everything everybody was only 50%, 40%. But then looking at them as customers, I thought without giving marks, their final marks will be in trouble. Then I changed it to what? What is nothing but from a textbook, you mug up and put it in the answer sheet. That is what. But then critical thinking, as the faculty Srish and all told, critical thinking means look at a problem from multiple aspects and you criticize. Because people are very good in criticizing their friends and faculty, but they are not good in criticizing problems and solutions. That is the problem in our this thing. So that is one another thing. I think the computer science faculty talked about his approach, when students come for problems, he directing to other departments. That is the best solution, because problems has to be, interdisciplinary. It has to come from different fields. Then I saw the brainstorming, every faculty, focused. And then another interesting thing which happened was, one of the students, from GCK got a state level award, in 2015, in a competition in PG. She got, third prize, for a product called Dola. She was from the EC department. So I was involved in her mentoring. So what I saw was, when I went to PG, basically to see these things, I saw a lot of grassroots innovators. These grassroots innovators, now many of the people are not even 10 standard pass people, but they got a lot of ideas. So one other thing, that time I proposed the Kerala Science and Technology, the director was, every state, every district, there is a government engineering college. Every 3 months, in that auditorium, the grassroots innovators in that region, who may not be even SSLC pass out, so they should come, and together with engineers, they should come out with, solutions, because engineers are good in applying latest knowledge. But whereas these people, they got good connection with the community needs and things like that. So if both of them can come together, at least every 3 months or 2 months, in a auditorium in a college like Kannur. For example, Kannur itself, I saw a lot of very interesting farmers, in that, event in PG. So I put all these things in a big mail, and I sent it to, the director of, Kerala Science and Technology, this thing. So immediately he told, it's a great idea. But point is, every time in discussion, everybody says all these things are great idea, but there is nobody, who implements these things. So maybe, in my view, GCK, if all of you can come together, if this approach can be done, I can connect you with, all these grassroots innovators, network, which is there in Kerala. Because Kannur itself has got a lot of innovators, who are the farmers and, mechanical people. I have seen a lot of interesting innovation. Something which goes up, some coconut tree, that, this and all. But they all lack, some technology pieces. That's where, from them, we can learn, community needs, and we can give, the engineering knowledge and expertise to them. Together, we can bring solutions. So look at that. Recently, a month back, there is a gentleman called Anil Gupta. He is from IIM Ahmedabad. He has got, a network called Honeybee Network. So he has asked me, can you establish Honeybee Network in, in Kerala? So the concept he is telling is exactly this: connecting the grassroots community, with engineering colleges. So already MA College of Engineering, in Kodamangalam, the student entrepreneur whom, I was mentoring, he has taken this challenge, and I have connected him with, this professor, from IIM Ahmedabad, and they are going to start, some activities there. Similarly, Kannur Engineering College also, you can, come forward, and I will connect with professor. And professor is a Padma Shri, winner, and he was part of the National Innovation Foundation. He only founded National Innovation Foundation. A lot of activities he will do. You can search for Anil Gupta, and he is very much interested to implement, Honeybee Network, in Kerala. Then I think faculty talked about the whys and how, the curiosity aspect perfectly there, and Jay Krishnaraj talked about the practical exam. We should give more focus. There only I was telling, maybe students should start playing with open source boards, which are typically costing 400 rupees and things like that. And then another thing, I just want to highlight is the assignment, the role of assignment. As I told, my son studied in Georgia Tech, and he was saying first 3 months, he had a tough time, because the assignments that they gave, they are all real life, problems. You cannot, copy that answer, from anywhere in the internet. And the assignments which are given to different students are different. So he is saying you need to really study the subject, struggle, and then their cutoff date of assignment is, very, very critical. If it is night at 12 o'clock, if you submit the assignment 1 second late, it will be, you will lose mark for that. So students work hard on assignments, and it is like exercise. When you exercise, all your muscles and everything gets stressed. So even assignment is like nothing but an exercise stuff. So initially you may feel difficult, but then my son, over the 3 months and 6 months, he started becoming, better and better. And when he came out, he felt so good about that institution. Okay, he told, now only I understand what is engineering, because he did BTech in India and MS in, Georgia Tech. So he understood. He was telling. And second thing is, I interacted with another biomedical student, from Georgia Tech. So when I talked to her, I felt she was much better than even 10-year experienced person in Philips Innovation Campus, because her knowledge of regulatory aspect. Because in healthcare, unless you know regulatory aspect, you will not be able to make products. So the theoretical knowledge we get from our BTech program will not be enable you to make, a medical device. So you need to know regulatory aspects. There are a lot of things which industry needs, you should know. So Georgia Tech was teaching, in their master's course, all these aspects. So when I interviewed her, she has just completed MS, and her knowledge level, like I'm telling you, it was much higher than even a 10-year experienced person, Philips Innovation Campus. I was really amazed. I asked her, and she told, I did her BTech from Anna University, but I did from masters from Georgia Tech. But that 2 years has completely transformed her. So these are all inputs, which we should use, and this thing. And then I always hear from some progressive schools here in Bangalore, teach one student at a time. Maybe you are teaching, 50 students in a class, 30 or 40 students in a class, but then every student is different. They have different capabilities, different this thing. And for a teacher, it is difficult to, give individual attention. But then sometime, students, teachers need to put apart for to understand, this individual, his talents, her passion, then other things. But that will enable, as teachers. For example, when I taught also, I as part of my introductory 1 or 2 classes, I used to understand these people. I used to understand their background, their community, their where they're staying, because all those things, give us, some sort of orientation to structure our classes. Instead of going fast, I can go slow, or what should be the different ways. So we need to customize our classes. But then this concept of teach one student at a time is symbolic. But how do you do? Different faculties will take care in different ways. And then, as somebody told, passion. Because the first thing, I asked all the students in Kannur, when I taught was, what is your passion? What you what makes you happy doing? So different people told something. Somebody told stitching. Somebody told, I do embroidery. Somebody told gardening. So, and a couple of people, I told that the ham guy, he was telling, my house has got a lab. Okay, and then he started telling, I make electronic circuit. So because of the passion, I gave an oscilloscope to him, and he's from Pioneer. So I sent a oscilloscope free to that guy because he was doing a lot of very interesting experiments. And the next is people should also identify a purpose, because you can have multiple passions. I can do stitching, gardening, electronic circuit, all that, but purpose is the same. For example, my purpose at this point in time is improve the creative confidence of people around the world. Wherever I intervene, on student or faculty or this thing, improve their creative confidence. Because I told from the first standard onwards, people keep losing their creativity and their confidence. So how do you regain that? That is my purpose. Like that, everybody has got a different purpose. So we need to understand the purpose. So I will sum it up: the attitude, aptitude, competency, skill, and knowledge, in that order. With attitude as the highest, priority. That is what industry is looking for. Whatever I told is inputs from some of the best what you call engineers in the country, as part of some LinkedIn updates and all. I had been monitoring, and this is what I found. The first thing students should focus is attitude, then aptitude, like learnability and all those things instead of mugging up, and then competency, then skill, and then finally knowledge. Knowledge is nothing but the marks that you get, the theory that you study, and in all those things. And new education policy, hope it will avoid all this mugging up, which is happening. Because when I did my masters from BITS Pilani, all the examination, I could open the book and see. But then, if you don't understand the concept, even if I take 5 books and put there, I never used to get answers from any of the books. MS, it was distance education for masters for me, and exams were so tough. In fact, I hardly got a 7 CGPA, out of 10. And then exams are so tough that unless you are very, very thorough with respect to subjects, you will not be able to write this thing, even if you got all the books. So students should think that way. Instead of shortcuts, kindly get their fundamentals right. So before we conclude, I just want to say, ask each one of you, to just say one in 30 seconds. What are the areas our new freshers should focus going forward? At least 1 or 2 points you can just mention, and what they should not focus, what they should focus, and what they should not focus. Because in the academy, you have seen many people focus on negative things. So what they should not forget. Maybe I'll say one very important thing they should focus, and one very important thing they should not focus, based on an experience. So I'll start with Jagash Raj.
Okay, thank you. My opinion is that we should make students to learn things their own. So they should have a practice to learn their own and not from the modules which they were like notes, printed notes, or notes prepared by the teachers. So now we have internet. Everything is there in the internet. Even PDFs of the books are available. So they should try to go through the internet and acquire knowledge. When I started my career, I used to tell the people in the first students in the first class that the knowledge is not to impart but to acquire. So that way they should acquire knowledge. What we can impart is only a little area, but they can acquire a lot. So they should focus on self-learning, apart from what based on what they are hearing from the teachers or acquiring from the teachers.
Yeah, thanks. The next is Srish. Unmute.
So the first thing about these freshers, they are sparkling with ideas, and also they are curious to know everything. And these induction programs that we conduct for them, that will enable or that will enhance their curiosity and all. But the main thing that I have seen is that this is only for this first year, and after this first year we are not reviewing these things. Other students are of the same curiosity, or they are going in the right path, orienting, or their mindset should be the same as we see them now. There is a thing they have to focus, and the thing they have not to focus is that they should not go along with the current. They should stand out from the majority. Then only they can success in their career.
Yeah,
that's all.
Thanks, Srish. Great points. So, Asjad?
Okay, thank you. So I just want to add just one thing, because in years back, the internet was not there as we see in today. So there was a lack of availability of the resources to learn some concepts. So when years comes and coming through today, so that is changed into a different aspect where we have a lot of resources. Okay, so a lot of resources, it's create a new problem. It's something we can call it as an overfit issue. It's like we have a lot of sources. So why I'm telling this, because I also made this mistake in my 1 or 2 years back. So when we need to learn, especially a new concept, let's say in the computer science, we can have deep learning, machine learning. I think most of us familiar with those terms. So when it comes to learn a new term or a new technology or in a new subject, I'm not talking about the fundamentals. We have defined books and well-known things are there. So, but when it comes to a new thing, we need to learn as part of any engineering stream, especially in the engineering stream. So it's very important. I think I could say it's more than 50% important to select the best input or right input. It can be a right material, it can be a right course, it can be a right people, or it can be a right place, whatever it is. So that is very much important. That is what one of my point to share with the students, to always take some time. It can be if you are finding out the best resources for that particular thing, that will make the learning will be much better, and you will be, after that learning happened, you will be in the best position in that topic. So that is the one thing which I want to share with the students.
Next is Jay.
Okay, I think all the students are hearing to us. So what I want to tell the students, especially at this point, is that they are going to be the beneficiaries of it. An engineer, actually, I believe that an engineer stands between a scientist and a technologist. A scientific fact can be there, a technology can be there, but when the mixing of science and technology is brought to the common man, then that is a role of an engineer. So engineer should be able to bring all these things to the society, to the happiness of the world in a positive manner. So my happiness shouldn't be an unhappiness of the other person. So an engineer should bring or coordinate all these things. He should have thorough understanding in the field which he is working. So what all things you hear from the college, from your teacher, from your textbook, etc. Once you hear, you shake your hand that I understood that. But at the end of the day, you go home and dream about that, think about that, and you will have more questions and get clarified with the questions. Then we will have a thorough understanding. Why I say so is like, if you want to be an engineer, and if you want to be more innovative, innovation is different from trial and error. So you will choose only a very few in innovative ideas, because you may have thousands of the things which you may not be able to. You should be able to discard those things which you are sure that it's not going to work. So for that, your basic understanding of the subject, fundamental basic subjects, etc., will be required. Another point I would like to emphasize that if you want to get a job when you pass, it may not be that easy. A mediocre student may not be able to get a job. You should be passionate. So it is better if you work in the same field which you are passionate about, get extra skills other than the field. For that, you have different resources, as my previous speakers have mentioned about. That is the thing which I want the students to do. And what I want the students not to do is like, you should not entertain or you should not find happiness in anything which is unhappiness or which is in a negative way. Because we are learning, we are studying with the help of the society, and the nation is spending us lakhs or millions for us to become an engineer. So it is not getting an agitation, or it is not getting a negative thing which you find in the campus, but it is going to be what you are doing to the society, to the final happiness of the society. That's what you should aim
Thank you.
at.
That was
Thank
a
you.
wonderful conversation, because as I told, GCEK is like a home for me, because I was there 2 years and I see a lot of new faculties. Your thoughts and ideas are great. I think there has to be a follow-on discussion on this. And so I want to thank the head of the Department of Electronics, who was connected with me in the beginning, and then I thought maybe we should have this sort of a discussion. I think this is only a beginning in my view. So I am sure at least few of the students have joined. I was looking at their comments area. I didn't see any question. Only there was one suggestion to me, which I wholeheartedly take it, because that is one area I am currently working. I had this feedback from some other places also, that I need to make a concerted effort on because I quite often use the word I know, and sometimes I gets missed, and then it will become no. So people, as you listen, you may get little feeling. In fact, I was there in March, inaugurating your electronics association there, and there also, one of the professor gave me this feedback. But I need to make an effort there. So I think going forward, it's going to be listening, because I have to listen to even every engineer, who are present here, your faculty, and if there are certain areas I should improve, and then show compassion. I should be compassionate to the community. That's what even JE also was saying, because we need to give back, because as I told, the Wharton School professor, his book is give and take. That is the book. So most of the time I have seen people only wanting to take. They doesn't want to give back. So the people who are successful in their career are people who want to give back to the society. When you give back, you will get double in return. That's what I have seen. Okay, but many people think if I give back, my thing is gone. But that is not true, especially in the field of education and knowledge. If you give more knowledge to other person, then you will get better. For example, I have seen some of my students taking classes. So when you take a class, you become more strong on the subject. That is what I used to do. For example, I passed out in 1985 from CET. That time I never had many concepts strong, because I was into multiple activities in the college. But then when I was a lecturer for that 1 year, I learned a lot of things. In fact, that was the best part of my career. 1 year, working with the best faculty in Kerala, and I learned a lot of things. And when I teach, students and CET, all top students come there, they will ask a lot of questions. So before I go to every class, I used to prepare at least some 4-5 hours, because the type of questions the students ask, they are all very, very thought provoking. And I used to teach, their applied electronics and CE people, and most of the people have now become principals and HODs, and even Cesar Thomas was the DT, for some time. She is also my student from there. So teaching is the best way, or giving knowledge, to the others is the best way of learning. Even my article for our college magazine I wrote, each of you should wear the gown of a teacher. Whether you have become a teacher in your seminars and other things, you can pull some 5 people, friends of yours, and you can talk. And then when you talk, then you will become more strong on what you are talking. So I think there is a tremendous opportunity here. And as I told Kannur faculty, I had utmost respect, and I always appreciated their this thing. But then I think we need to come together. And I have told even Sanjeev, Dinesh Babu, and all. No, anytime you call me, I am always available for Government Engineering College Kannur, because I felt you are in a very particular area of Kerala. It's a very important area, North Malabar. You have got hundreds of problems. So your institution is the best to solve many problems of Kerala, because that whole region there are a lot of challenges. There are special demographic issues. So that's a very good lab in my view for community problem solving compared to any other colleges in the mid or northern parts of Kerala. So I'm sure this faculty and students and people like me, and I could also pull other people interested from industry. So we should continue this dialogue. So this platform is itself is an innovation, because you are able to stream to many people are watching around the world now. I think maybe more people than maybe the college students. So I think we should utilize these innovations, and we should keep these conversations going. So with this, I am just handing over to Ramanand.
Thank you, sir. We already have a good presentation and panel discussion on the topic. And now we come to the end of this session. So let me invite Professor Asjad Nabil for the vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you, Raman. So it was actually a wonderful session. There's a lot of discussion has happened, and I think it's very fruitful for the students, as well as it is a learning for us as a very junior faculties, for me especially. And so was discussed many points, but I think I don't want to mention all those things. So some of the points I just point out, which can be benefit for the students. One thing I think I was putting highlight for the out-of-box thinking. That is a critical thing aspect, but how much it is relevant for an engineering student as a profession. So that is a crucial thing. That is the one thing. And the other thing but there in our discussion was the importance of interdisciplinary research in the modern era, not in the modern era today. There is a need of an hour. So how much it is relevant and how much it is important, and the culture of creating solving problems, finding out the problems in the interdisciplinary domain and solving it is actually a good practice for the students of today. And more than that, I think the students have to keep more important to the expectation from the industry that I was talking about, that you may not get always from our side as a faculty. So the expectation from the industry, that is always you have to keep in mind. So there are a lot of things you have to develop and you have to work on yourself as a student. So that can be, I think, Savas discussed about that. The first point, the industry acceptance is about the attitude, then the aptitude, then the competency, and the last is the knowledge. So obviously the knowledge is very much important. So more than that, the soft skill and the attitude and things like that, you have to work out yourself. Okay, so that order, the priority order, you have to keep it in mind. And so I think it's a totality development of your attitude and behavior. So I think I may missed some of the points, but I think this is something definitely we have to give more importance. So by this, I am behalf of the College of Engineering Kannur, so I'm thanking Sir Jayesh Divaran sir for giving a wonderful session, as well as a wonderful place for a panel discussion. Definitely, I believe this is a very good benefit for the students as well as the faculties and those who are watching this event. So thanks again. Thank you very much, sir, for joining this event. And I'm also thanking Professor Jayakrishnan sir, Professor Electronics Department, and Professor J.E.K. Varghese sir, Associate Professor Mechanical Engineering, and my good friends Ramanand, Electronics Department, and Srish Ajay Kumar from Assistant Professor Civil Engineering. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining this session and actively participating in this session. And once again, I'm thanks Jayesh Divaran sir for arranging this wonderful place for a discussion and things. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think Raman, that's fine, no?
That's okay. Thank you, Nabil.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sir, can we by this work can we conclude this?
Yeah. I'm going to remove all of you under this thing. I'll put a final banner and I'll close.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.